bolobo pa 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 la balobo pa la lele. Yesterday has come and gone, leaving some of us to mourn. Times we had and friends we lost, and while nature took its course, we have seen the many faces of slavery. We have seen the British Empire fall. We have seen Hitler's contribution to history. We have seen the rise and fall of the Berlin Wall. We have seen famines. We have seen wars. As you well imagine, we have seen nothing yet, because in time to come, America will have a black president. In time to come, there's going to be an active world government. In time to come, the world will see human life cheaper than dirt. In time to come, from outer space, aliens will land on the earth. Team Africa will win the World Cup. Marijuana will sell in the shop. Science will produce bread out of stone, and then create the first human clone. Technology will reach a new high. Buses and cars will fly in the sky. Trinidad will make a nuclear bomb. In time to come. In time to come. In time to come. Don't do that. Glenn, tell them for me. Pampalo polo pampalala. Balobo pala lele. Moving from the dark ages, man has progressed in stages. Through the stone and iron age, till we turn another page, and we saw the adventures of Alexander, waging war in his obsession for conquest. Inventions like the chariot and the saber, the weapons that put Europe under duress. Mankind achievements sometimes were great, and his glorious moments mark the passage of time. But wait, in time to come, mankind will have a colony on the moon. In time to come, this calypso will be a top 40 tune. In time to come, scientists will synthesize silver and gold. In time to come, people will have real sex by remote control. The first dead man will come back alive. Cancer and AIDS victims will survive. Babies will born with mustache and beard. Penis and kidneys will be repaired. The government will ban cigarette. Breakfast and lunch will be a tablet. A 2-year-old will split the atom. In time to come. Never hear them. In time to come. One more time. In time to come. For this new millennium, mark my word, it was some strange thing we have watched. Some of you gonna live to see that. Pala lobo, pala lele, papala. That day when the Wright brothers, after tremendous horrors, got their little plane to soar, all of mankind stood in awe. Just like when that great scholar Benjamin Franklin discovered what would be electricity. And again, when Sir Alexander the Kingpin give the world the first telephone company. But all of that is a drink of rum in our drinking glasses, compared with what is still to come. In time to come, an asteroid will destroy New York City. In time to come, California will submerge under the sea. In time to come, almost every athlete will be bionic. In time to come, every national park will be Jurassic. Explorers will find El Dorado. Computers will compose Calypso. Man will begin to travel in time. Police will stop adultery and crime. People won't go to church anymore, and there will be a gender world war. Preachers will heal the deaf and the dumb. In time to come. In time to come. In time to come. Present. Present. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate that. Nowadays, the things we see have us in a quandary, wondering what will be next in the world of science and sex. We have seen already the tacit acceptance by the world regarding
Lennox, pleasant good morning to you. The floor is all yours. I'm not hearing you. See, I'm not hearing you.
Right, let's see. Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Pleasant good
All
morning
right,
to you, I
great,
must
great,
say.
great. Thanks very much, of course, for that, what I consider to be quality check. Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good morning to all and sundry, east, west, north, south, central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. Yes, this is the Friday edition of the Ground Report. Clearly, of course, some like to say, of course, Happy Friday. Some like to say, Thank God it's Friday. Whichever, of course, let's say, iteration. Yeah, whichever iteration that you prefer. The fact of the matter is that it is a Friday, and of course, the last day of the week. Last day of the week for, of course, the ground report, and we continue, of course, on a Monday, bright and early at 6 o'clock. But once again, of course, Andy's voice is a bit, should I say, challenging for him. And you wouldn't like to hear the pit bull, of course, reduced to something other than, of course, what we have grown accustomed to, as far as his presentations, because he's always forceful, he's always dynamic, he's always, I like to say, effervescence, and that subdued position today is due to, of course, circumstances beyond his control. Otherwise, of course, he would have been active with us. My voice as well. I had a little tinge of what he was experiencing, I think, last night, but I think overnight it has, of course, improved. Let me put it that way. But the fact of the matter is that we continue, of course, to treat with the issues of the day. The issue that I would want to focus on before, of course, we go directly into the whole question of the current issues as noted by the newspapers that we have grown accustomed to glean some elements of what is happening in the country, particularly matters of political nature. I think because this is what it is all about. We have agreed tacitly and, of course, comprehensively that the politicians or the politics of the country is extremely important for a country, for any country, because it talks about the leadership, and it deals with, of course, matters of the day that will impact on ordinary stakeholders. And stakeholders here refers to, of course, the citizens of the country, and therefore, in such circumstance, we must focus on them in spite of some ignoramus that will tell us don't call the PNM name, and don't focus on the PNM, and the PNM is in government. Well, I will tell you, I will be first to admit that if, of course, the PNM, let me put it another way, let me be a little more, should I say, factual. When the PNM gets out of office, you will hear nothing from Lennox Smith, nothing from the ground report, nothing from Corridor, and of course all the other, should I say, social platforms that, of course, will be calling the PNM's name on a daily basis. Why? Simply because they are not in government and they have no impact on us, and therefore they cannot, of course, have any influence in terms of the treasury of the country, in terms of taxpayers' money, in terms of policies and programs that ostensibly the responsibility of a government is to address. And once that happens, and when that happens, we have no difficulty in disassociating ourselves with calling out, and of course, announcing or in any way referencing the PNM. As far as I am concerned, at that point in time, they have become obsolete. They have become, of course, not just obsolete, but relegated to the dustbin of political history, and therefore there is no need, except, of course, the writers and the historians, of course, will do their thing in terms of as part and parcel of the chronicle of the development of Trinidad and Tobago, noting, of course, for posterity, for future generations, right, in, of course, in documentation, or these days, of course, in digital form, whichever form it is. But the fact of the matter is that right now we have a duty and responsibility to tell it as it is, and of course, the PNM must be at the forefront of any discussion, simply because they have been given the responsibility, incompetent as they are, questionable as they are, but the fact is that the law says that they are the government, and therefore is managing our affairs, managing our resources, and as a consequence, we have a damn right, authority, privilege, and of course, and if you want to call it uncanny, you want to call it deliberate, you want to call it fervent, all of the above, we have a responsibility to focus on them, and we must be laser sharp. But that being as it may, recent development that came to my attention, of course, and once again, of course, I want to commend the opposition. They are always right. I have done all the research, whether it be the 106 schools that Rowley couldn't find. Why as Prime Minister, we found it. Whether it be, of course, the Delcy Rodriguez matter, we certified it. Whether it be, of course, the Brent Thomas matter was factual, the courts certified it. Whether it be, of course, the Vincent Nelson matter, Rowley, of course, up and down the place, telling us that, listen, they find some big fish. Big fish. You know, if it's one single fish, fish is considered to be plural. The plural of fish is fish. When it's a single fish, of course, there are different types of fish. And then, of course, you say fishes. But the fact of the matter is that they got big fish politically, and Ramlogal and Ravdeen. And he, Rowley, was up and down the country, stated that, listen, Vincent Nelson, a QC, he was saying that at the time, that, of course, his integrity cannot be questioned, even though, of course, he was before the courts, admitting to, of course, giving kickbacks misbehavior as far as his profession is concerned. Not that he was a government official, but misbehavior in terms of that. Because it meant for him, the disbarring can't practice the law both here and in England. And all of that. He went through, of course, and Al-Rari was up and down the place as, of course, Attorney General. All of the making the circuit as far as interviews, television, newspapers, etc., radio, telling us that, of course, Vincent Nelson will be subjected to beating his chest as to, of course, the first major case that deals with, of course, that measure that they would have introduced. That is to say, of course, plea bargaining. Remember that? There is all of that. And they plea bargained. And so said, so happened. What we did not know, all of that was being orchestrated by the PNM and Rowley, Al-Rari, and of course the entire cabinet. That is what we didn't know. Because they have this uncanny ability, because the population is unaware, they have all of the information that they keep it to themselves, believing that the true state of affairs will not escape their conspirators' grasp. And then, of course, when the back break, and I'm saying to, of course, those civil servants, those public officers, who clearly, without their input, the opposition could not have known. And their sense of right and wrong, some like to call them, of course, whistleblowers. But I prefer to say human beings who cannot stomach wrongdoing. And so when these pieces of information come across their desks, and from time to time, it is obvious. I mean, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand how the opposition will have gotten that, because they are not in government, and therefore the control of the various ministries, in this case, of course, the Ministry of the Attorney General. There must be people inside of there that said, no, this thing stinks to deep hell. Not heaven, deep hell. And they should not get away with it. And so the information would have been triggered. And of course, the politicians, as clever as we know they are in such sensitive circumstance, would say that they got the information in their mailbox, that kind of thing. We understand what the scenario is, but the fact of the matter is that they were well informed. And in this particular case with Vincent Nelson, the opposition leader, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, once again correct, as she has been, of course, with the going to as far as the Privy Council in order, of course, to force this government to hold local government elections. Beyond, of course, what they thought they had the power to do, that is to say, to postpone. It is this, of course, opposition that, of course, defended in the early stages the illegality of the implementation of the Property Act, or the property tax. Remember that? It is this opposition that broke the news about Brent Thomas. It is this opposition that broke the news about Dr. Rowley's, after, of course, early denial. He had to confess when they went as far as to, at least in the nascent stage, in the preliminary stage, to impeach a sitting president. I'm sure the president had some choice words for Rowley to get her name out of this nonsense. And so he had to come and confess that it was he who made the intervention. But today, he's saying that he has a legal right. Well, if you know you have a legal right all the time, why didn't you say up front? But you're so damn dishonest. You're so damn conniving. You're so damn deceptive and deceitful. That is only when forced in that situation, then, of course, they make a confession. And they begin, of course, to be extremely garrulous. They mouth start to run like, what they say, like duck bottom. Yes, watery, and of course, osseous and exaggerated, because they want now to somehow for us to be sympathetic to them after confessing that they did what they denied in the beginning. Nothing different. The two, of course, are not closing down Patrician, but are closing down. That is how that is how Rowley and they operate, and we saw it, of course, only recently in the Parliament. In the Parliament, as far as the Earl Christopher matter is concerned, and other matters. But the point I am making here is that Dr. Rowley and Al-Rari as Attorney General, and clearly the whole cabinet would have known, the entire cabinet would have known of the situation as far as Vincent Nelson is concerned, and the payment literally of over $10 million to get a statement to, of course, incriminate Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen as a big fish. A big fish. And he said in no uncertain terms, when he was, of course, purporting and propelling and advocating that Vincent Nelson is helping the government to help put operatives of the Kamala Prasad Bisesa administration 2010 to 2015 in handcuffs. Those were the words. Those were the words. And you sycophants and you people in Lavantil and so on who still considering these people. And I know that there are those who believe that they have no choice. They're facing with the hospital's choice because they're still getting a kakada and so on. No, that is our money. You will still get it. Take it and vote the tails out. That's what you have to do. And Lavatilla expected to be on the right side of electoral history on this occasion. It is inevitable. It's the last year they could do nothing. What more they could do than they have already done over the last 10 years. So don't be in any way of the view that you are so obligated and beholding that you cannot find the gusto and the legitimate and the consciousness to, of course, get rid of them because you have it now in your hands. They can't come back here to victimize you after you would have done what you had to do in terms of voting the tails out. Every single electorate, 39 seats in Trinidad. 39 in Trinidad. Don't waste time with them and relegate them finally to the dustbin of political history in this country. So he's up and down the place saying that, of course, Vincent Nelson handed them a big fish. Not telling us that they paid $10 million to the man to get a incriminating statement against, of course, Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen. And he had his own theory about the efficaciousness, or should I say, the form of how the criminal justice system work. So in his ignorance, or should I say, in his anxiety to boast that they have a big fish, he then says, listen, remember Pamasa? Rowley tell us that. Remember Pamasa in the Malik matter? He didn't do the job. He may not have pulled the whatever device they used to kill the woman, but he turned state witness, and as a result, Malik was found guilty, and the rest is history. That's what he told us. And with his ignorance and his enthusiasm to try to project that somehow they get a big fish, and therefore the notion that they were selling us during the course of the elections and leading up, of course, to the 2015 elections, that finally the people could believe them because he has self-sanitized. He has, of course, created the situation where the people will now finally believe after, of course, close to 10 years. Close to 10 years. And so, laying the foundation for another term, so he believed, of disaster, pain and ache and agony and treachery. And of course, attack on the treasury, treachery and attack on the treasury, as we have seen. He then, of course, beats his chest because he has no compunction to mash up, to deceive, and to, of course, impose evil maliciously on anybody that he believes is his enemy and on whose back he can ride, as we have been demonstrating with respect, of course, to the notion of pseudo-racism. He will ride the backs on anybody to be in government. And we saw that, of course, when he, of course, undermined Manning, when he undermined his boss, that is, undermine and subject, of course, himself to treasonous episodes in the parliament with respect, of course, to those emails. And now today, when he realized that, of course, his evil, diabolical, malicious conduct in public office is now, of course, ahead of him, and we continue to conclude Trump in, he gone, because he has realized that it has run its full cycle. However, deciding, of course, to keep his clone, the clone only, of course, you can't say clone in terms of ethnicity, you can't say clone in terms of color of skin, you can't say texture of hair. Clone in terms of his devious, evil, lying, malicious, and of course, mendacious ways. That is the clone that Short Young is of him. That's the clone we are talking about. So, Kamala Prasad Bissessa came to the population and said, listen, the issue of Vincent Nelson, how I get Mandela in this, but Vincent Nelson, I suppose because Mandela's first name is Nelson, so probably that is why. And I'm so obsessed with the fact that there is a lack of decency in a fellow like Rowley, that somehow we had to find Nelson Mandela inside of this. Because Rowley is the antithesis of what one would have expected. Antithesis of what one would have expected. As he continued, of course, to rain havoc in Trinidad and Tobago in the office of Prime Minister. So, Vincent Nelson, we were told by the opposition leader, was bribed $10 million, his own money, in a complex web, to, of course, have him committed to an indemnity arrangement, but at the same time, a statement that would indict, that would, of course, bear false witness against Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen, a former, the former being, of course, a former Attorney General, so it's a big fish as far as Rowley is concerned, because, I mean, without that Attorney General, frankly, you don't have a government in our system. And, of course, Ramdeen winning a lot of cases against the government in court. Of course, for poor people and the downtrodden. So as far as they're concerned, and a former, of course, senator. So therefore, two big fish. Two big fish. I what he said. And he referenced, of course, Pamasa, that thunderhead, that what I consider to be stone-headed, hard, rock-headed individuals who, of course, so blissful in his attempt to, of course, undermine the judicial system and the rule of law, and didn't care if he did damage to the careers of these two men. He claimed that, listen, we got a big fish, and that, of course, Vincent Nelson, a UK senior counsel, and he was boasting. UK senior counsel, he boasts to help them come as witness, state witness, to put members of the Kamala Prasad business administration in handcuff. And he laughs. He laughs. And he goes to bed, of course, I'm sure, and sleeping. Well, these days, I'm sure that his backside is palpitating from fear. And we see it on his face every day these days. And we see how nebulous and superficial his presentations are. And of course, the added to it is the normal theatrics and histrionic, meaning that play acting. I mean, of course, that is so obvious, that is so conspicuous that I don't think he could even enter any minimum or immature acting position in Bollywood or Hollywood. That is how bad he is as an actor. These days in particular, we are seeing it on his face. And of course, all of those who are around him, you could see them with, of course, with the fake smiles, forcing to smile. And that, of course, is palpably manifested in the recent, of course, outcome. And no doubt one can surmise the retreat in Tobago and then the subsequent, of course, meeting after that blood money entity called Balize House, when, of course, they ended up with 11-9, ended up 21 all. We know. And then, of course, I hastened, of course, special convention of the PNM at Napa. I wonder if it's our money again. But we will find out. To suggest solidarity and unison of purpose. And to endorse, of course, his pick for Prime Minister now that he has decided to leave. Decided to leave because he wants his clone, who is similarly evil, to be his successor, so that what? So that he can influence that, because he's really a bad man. He's really, of course, a nincompoop. He's really, I talk about Young here, he's really his sidekick that we have seen, of course, over the last 10 years of this fellow called Short Young. But the point I am making with respect, of course, to Vincent Nelson is that he was up and down the place, and the government and the members of the cabinet must have known. They could not avoid knowing that Vincent Nelson was set up Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen. You know what I say? I said Vincent Nelson was set up Anand Ramlogan and Ramdeen. And Wise Rowley, of course, was taking the high ground. Oh, we get a big fish. Big fish. And of course, it's making the reference of Pamasa. And that is where I realize once and for all that this man is so greedy for power. Is so reckless and brutal. Is so barbaric. Is so obnoxious. Yeah. is so injured, heartless, that they will watch these people and manufacture evidence in order to prove a point that because you want to stay in office and in power in this country, having regard, of course, to the paltry performance and the inability to manage the affairs of the country. Everything you touch as if you're blight. But of course, I suppose when you contemplate and you focus in that way, evil will always follow you. You know what I say when you focus on evil thoughts and deeds and abuse resources and but in fact deprive young people, children, the senior citizens, and don't tell me all you don't understand what I'm talking about. Young people, in terms of what these gravitators to gang activities are doing now, is because they are dissatisfied and they have their own revolution that they are engaged in. The younger ones than we have to just look at the hospitals where, of course, these prenatal babies died. Yeah. Abuse of financial resources and therefore depriving this category of vulnerables that I refer to, whether it be the age, whether it be, of course, the babies, whether it be the young kids in this country. You have to look at, of course, the inability to account for $22 billion expenditure as far as COVID is concerned. And so he goes up and down the place and says, look at Pamasa. I'm saying all that to say that in criminal matters, you don't pay any bribe. You don't pay people to come and testify. You don't pay them for a statement. No. What he was referring to in the case, of course, of Pramasa, he had to, in order to save his own skin, no bribe in criminal matters. Once that happens in a criminal matter, no, the court throw out that evidence. But he had to save his own skin. And so, of course, he works out an arrangement with, of course, the prosecuting team at the time. And, of course, to save his own skin, he went as witness for the state. And that is how, of course, Mickie got convicted. She was beaten out all over the place, ignorant of the fact that that is not an example that he would use in a matter such as this. Because you don't bribe witnesses who were part and parcel of a criminal act. Criminal act. Part and parcel of a criminal act. And you decide, of course, listen, let me take on myself. I go in as state witness. Which would have been the case if the entire thing was true. But it turned out to be, of course, what? A perversion of the course of criminal justice. That is what they were engaged in. A perversion of the course of criminal justice. And we saw the same thing. The same thing. When, of course, Rowley's name was called in the fake oil matter. And claiming that, of course, A.V. Gillen's owner is his friend and so on. And that, of course, he had a right as a friend to call A.V., the owner of A.V. Gillen, first thing rather than call possibly the Commissioner of Police or his Attorney General to find out what is that matter with respect, of course, to the fake oil matter. We can't find Dole Kissing. We can't find him now. He was the government or the PNM associated agent at the other end, faking or cooking the books. Cooking the books. You can't find him now. So it is clear that all of that was orchestrated. How the hell you could now say that you did not know, nor the cabinet, especially this prime minister or especially this cabinet? That's how he was talking. But one day, Kongote, the UNC will get into office with a massive majority. and therefore a mandate from the people of Trinidad and Tobago to investigate all of these iniquities, all of these malicious and wickedness that Rowley has led the PNM into, and of course, like lamb to the slaughter, the rest of the cabinet by association. Because of course, as you would know by now, cabinet decision is unanimous. Well, it's not unanimous, but by majority. Unanimous is that everybody would agree, but everybody don't agree. But even if you didn't agree, but the majority has agreed, then everybody is held culpable. And therefore, the entire cabinet of Keith Christopher Rowley as Prime Minister that he put together are therefore guilty of treason, misbehavior in public office, and of course, consequential of these multiple actions that they would have taken to promote their own agenda politically and to stay in office, apart from misappropriating the resources of the country in more ways than one. Let's not waste time with that. So, the point I am making is that that kind of conduct must be scrutinized, and the incoming Kamala Prasad Bissessa UNC administration is faced with the Hobson's choice, no choice. They must investigate these multiple. Too much. One or two, just like, of course, recusals in the cabinet. Just as that, one or two, all right, you say, all right, you will let that pass. 500, 1,000. Rowley alone last time was 12. One man, 500. Another man, 100. Recusals in a cabinet. And somebody was saying because the Royal Bank had sponsored, of course, youth leaders, that the country is in good hands. And therefore, of course, equate that to being that Trinidad and Tobago is a real place. To, of course, counter the notion, the generic notion that, listen, this cannot be a real place. You cannot have one small group of persons have their hands in everything that is evil to promote their own wealth artificially, their own ability artificially, and of course, total collapse of every facet of significance in the society for which they have responsibility, even though, of course, their access to the positions that they hold, ministers, prime minister, government, etc., would have been questionable. But they must have a conscience. These people have no conscience. And therefore, we must not relent. We must not provide any kind of what I consider to be opportunity for them to escape unscathed. They have done too much. So, having said that, let me tell you that what we discovered, and thanks, of course, once again to the opposition, Saddam Hussein on this occasion attracted my curiosity. And so I triggered my investigative skills. And of course, I communicated with the network that I have developed over the years. Yes, some of you don't know, but every year I am invited by the Inter-American Development Bank at their, of course, NGO forum, which precedes, of course, their annual meetings. The last one I attended was, of course, in Bolivia. Yes, in South America. Yeah. And then, of course, the first time, of course, I had to go through Venezuela, etc., in order to get back home, because we have no direct flights there. And I want to tell you. So network, I want to tell you as well. The work I have been doing also caused me to have friends in the various, of course, missions that are here, major missions that are here. I caused, of course, as I said, the British ambassador there tour Eastport Spain. I got the Indian High Commissioner to tour Eastport of Spain with us and visit us. The Americans, of course, have demonstrated a willingness, but politics, of course, in the United States has prohibited that or prevented that, but we will get them still. What a Mickie in Pasio. The Canadians got them to, of course, support initiatives that we will have considered and develop. And just in case you feel it speaks, all of this, 1,000 pages, material like peas, just right to you. Up until all of this, and every single one is related, of course, to some sustainable project, particularly in Lavatil. I always believe that if you solve the Lavatil question, you solve, of course, crime, blue-collar crime in Trinidad and Tobago. I gave, of course, an anecdotal exemplification of how that could be. But let me just run through some of these so you will understand these modules. This one, of course, final comprehensive project development initiative towards sustainable transformation, socio-economic amelioration, and crime reduction. And this one, I designed it for Maloney. Maloney, East-West Corridor we're talking about here. This is a document with socio-economic data. And it includes, of course, this is for Lavatil specifically, and it includes, of course, the amount of businesses that would have left, the amount that remain, the amount of professionals we have, whether it's lawyers, whether it's doctors, etc. We have no doctors, but we have a couple lawyers and so on. We did all of that. The amount of school dropouts and so on. This is another document here. Biannual, of course, initiative. Look how thick it is. This is called, of course, the Ad Hoc Committee for the Eradication of Crime in Lavatil report. And of course, it is usually, we have a seminar on the subject over 4 days. And when we invited this fella who claiming to be some minister of national security, I talk about Hines, when he was, of course, the representative for Lavatil East Movement, he had the audacity and the temerity and the gall to see, of course, the venerable Archbishop Barbara Grayburg sit down in the audience when, of course, we commence our symposium on anti-crime initiatives and so on at the Angostura facility there. And he comes there, and in the presence of the media, he then says that the very people who are engaged in these activities are themselves causing crime. That is the level of superficiality and dotishness. And then have the audacity and the temerity he has, years after, to claim and put the name and put his association to the Lavatil Continuing Education, the Lavatil Technology and Continuing Education Center. That is Lennox Smith's invention. You ever say that is Lennox Smith's invention, not Hines. His locks are them too thin to think that thick. You ever say? I say that his locks are too thin to think that thick. Understand that? So this is something that we do. Kamala Prasad Business already has it, of course, on a flash drive, but of course I sent some hard copies as well. These people are treasonous in terms of their disposition. They're wicked to the hilt and want to take credit where, of course, they prove to be incompetent, impotent. Their inability, their indolence is unfathomable, and their wickedness and deception is unqualified in terms of putting a degree as to that level of deception that they have perpetrated on the people over the years. This one, this is another Maloney project, but it is designed, of course, for dealing with those young people who would have gone through the system, the education system, but can't read and write. Can't read and write. You must have a built-in system in the communities where the police consider to be crime hotspots, or they are suffering some serious socio-economic challenges in terms of poverty, in terms of employment opportunities, in terms of capacity building, in terms, of course, of making sure they can keep the peace. That's what we are talking about. Let me just give you a couple more so you understand that this is no jokey matter, and that therefore the same level of enthusiasm and the same level of stick-to-itiveness you will see Lennox Smith engage in, because I've left it up to Hines and Day over the last 10 years and counting, and they have done not one damn thing. In fact, the situation has gotten worse along the East-West corridor. Worse. More gangs. More young people, because you would have had more of them coming out of school as the years go by. And therefore there is a need to arrest that. Only yesterday, I spoke to a number of graduates from the Mova Laventil Improvement Organization Trade School. And they have decided they are big people now. You saw, of course, if you watched I think it was Sunday or Saturday's edition of the Corridor, where Gabriel Dada was with me here in studio, and he, of course, he gave a testimony to the fact that it was Lennox Smith, through, of course, his institutional creativity, was able to send, through, in this case, of course, it was LFL, Laventil for Laventilians. He was sent at the expense of the Indian government to India to study entrepreneurship, development, and so on. And when he came back, not only does he have 2 businesses right in Port of Spain here, but his job is also, of course, to show others that they can do it too, because he has come from here, right here in this community. So even if they are not academically inclined, and if they are not vocationally inclined, certainly they must be suited, because they must eat, and they must make a contribution to themselves and their family and their community and their country by extension. And therefore, they have to find some means of livelihood. And so business is a natural and honorable option. So in this one, of course, it is called Proposal Annual Inter-Community Beauty Pageant and Sports Program. And guess for where? For Beetham Gardens Organizing Committee. I designed it. They came when we were in Jewans in Mova, and we did it right there.
You have a caller on the line, Lennox.
Oh, we have a caller? All right, good. All right, let's get to the line. Sorry about that, people. Go ahead. Caller. Let me just get a copy of the numbers as well. Go ahead, caller. I'm still getting no audio, so you'll have to tell me when this is finished, or the case may be, because I will not be able to respond to the caller if I am not hearing.
Hello, good morning.
All right, good morning. Go ahead. I hear you now. Yes.
Morning, everyone. Now let me tell you something how this government wicked. This government so wicked. I can remember couple months ago, they took bulldoze and bulldoze the farmers and them produce what they producing for we to eat, the person of this country to eat. on them houses, and have them out in the hot sun. All you to turn wicked government, and now all you're coming to say now, all you're getting seeds somewhere from Africa or somewhere about, for the farmers and them to plant some to get food to eat. What are they did before? Or they take out all the farmers and them produce, bulldoze it, and destroy it, and then all they talking about all they getting seeds to plant food to eat. Man, tell me what all you keep all your seeds. All you have citizens crying in this country, crying out. You understand? You can't go nowhere else in our country and show what all you're doing out here. We're seeing that nowhere else. But all you tell all yourself, all your only people, citizens of this country. So all you could do is walk on your work. But if the people are there and see what's taking place, these same houses they bulldozed yesterday, right? If all your people and see what's taking place, and all you put back this wicked government here, is all you like it so, so when anything happens, don't come and cry. Don't come and cry and say what the government doing on, because all you see, all your eyes open, and all you see what's taking place in this country. This government don't like us, they don't like nobody. When they could get all the money and things, right? They show you they don't care about me. But all you still think, when any little thing, and all you clapping and all you laughing, but they ain't like on you. So some of us have to take where we get in. You understand? But that is a wicked government we have here, and they have to get out, they have to go. They're destroying the land, they're destroying the citizens, they're destroying everything in Trinidad and Tobago. We have to get rid of them. They're dirty and they stink. Wicked government, boy.
Right, we finish there? As I say, I'm not hearing clearly, so you would appreciate, you'll have to, from time to time, of course, inform me as to what is
We got
happening.
some voice notes.
All right, okay. We have some. Well, go ahead with the voice. So don't forget, let me just give them the numbers to call. I just retrieve them. 225-6644, 225-6644, 239-5120, 239-5120, and of course WhatsApp us, leave a voice message at your convenience, but within of course the period from 6 to 10 o'clock. 366-3053, 366-3053. That's for the new ones, and of course those who have not yet committed these numbers to memory, just as myself. Go ahead, my friend. We look at some of the voice notes now.
You can talk by the time, Mr. Lennox.
Still problem again?
No, you could talk by the time.
All right, okay then. Yes, indeed. So I was making the point that, of course, sustainable development, and this is not a law enforcement per se responsibility. This is not. We have to look at our institutions of social control. And it begins with the family, because every single, if you want to call them delinquent, you want to call them antisocial, you want to give them a nice name, socially different, but the fact of the matter is that all of us come from a family, at least the product of at least two persons coming together. And so the institutions of social control, that is to say, the socialization of the individual, because human beings are gregarious animals. They live in groups. Something similar, of course, to the bees and the ant kingdom and so on. And so, because of that, we have to be socialized. We live in groups, and therefore the family is crucial, the school is crucial, the church is crucial, the prison, the courts, the judiciary. Yeah, all of these are institutions of social control that will tell the young person growing up in such a society what you have to do, what is appropriate behavior and what is not. And of course, when they go off course, then of course institutions such as the police comes in, and that in itself is part of the cadre of institutions of social control. Yes, the police as well, because they will now have to either make a judgment. They always have to, when somebody infringes the criminal law, for example, they will have to decide whether, of course, to charge or not to charge. So they are a part of that system that will determine the outcome of that young person and what he or she will contribute to the society. But by and large, this problem in this society or this part of the country, Lavatil, right down, of course, to Chagaramas and right up to Toko, and of course, across the various geographic spaces where the concern by the society of young people in particular deviating from
I will
the
play the
straight
voice
and
notes
narrow.
now.
We have a caller?
I will play the voice notes now.
Yeah, okay then, go ahead. And I sent a video for you as well. So if you could do that, and I'll tell you when to play. All right?
Okay.
Okay, I sent it to Andy Williams, so I don't know. So you would know what to do. Okay then, go ahead if you have the voice notes
Like on
at
the
this
ground
time.
report show.
Just because, of course, we try to be as it was. Don't forget, of course, Andy's voice is still, of course, a
Andy,
challenge.
good morning. Andy, get well soon, please. We begging you, Andy. Don't force yourself, Andy. Get well and make sure that you can come out and fight the battle with us, please, Andy. You take it light and obey doctor instructions. You understand? We keeping you in God's heart. Right, Andy? You take care and have a blessed and wonderful day, Andy.
Sign that bill for the sale, bringing the two high power guns in the country. Rowley after he the head of national security. He's a wicked man. You understand? All they're going to do with them gun on them. All they're going to do with them gun on them. Target ministers in the UNC, all they're going to target ministers in the UNC, it's an knowledge that all they're going to target ministers in the UNC, what are they going to do with that gun? Eh? All the beginning gun on Rowley for he know nothing about it. He already know nothing about going on in the country. He know nothing in the government country, but he 2 foot in everything that goes on in the country. Probably a wicked man here named Butana Warrior Chong. Just on the wicked person, all of us suffer they do it in the country now. Have a blessed day.
Good morning, Andy, Lennox, and Mickie. Lennox, I come to realize Trinidad have no smart people. They're all location stupid. Because all the smart people left Trinidad and look for greener pastures outside. So the leave back people like Paul Pedro is a Gadaha, a Maha Gadaha, a big donkey. I mean, the PNM supporters, come on, brother, you guys don't understand and don't listen, but you guys don't read, you don't do anything. When you guys just sit and collect free money and eat a set of grass, all the smart, intelligent people left Trinidad I listened to that jackass in the parliament, Dr. Rowley. The man is a garaha. I have to use the word garaha all the time. The man is a 4 foot, he's a 2 foot garaha. We don't have that, very rare, but he's one of them, 2 foot garaha. The man is a lunatic. I'm watching that man talk. You see Saddam is so intelligent and smart, he don't call him, he put it to them. And he tied up the man and the man confused and come back and ball, he charge. The boy never tell you they're in charge, but you're mafia charge. And you're all them woman in back clapping and big fat, black, big bottom, him. Oh my God, what a skill. Boy, you know, tired, listen to people calling you a garaha, a big donkey. You have 2 foot donkey. From now on, 2 foot donkey garaha. Okay, boyfriend, you're not going to get rid of it, but somehow or the other, we got to get rid of it. Thank you, bye-bye.
Sign that bill for the till bringing.
Good morning, Andy, Lennox. One more thing. For a thing when they call to make contribution, talk about how we can.
Good morning, Lennox. You're right. All this confusion in the TTPs is all Dr. Rowley and the P&M fault. If they didn't put in that waste of time, Erla, as the Commissioner of Police, TNT would not be in this. Dane, they are in right now, Dr. Rowley, and the P&M has turned TNT into a green skin. Banana soul country. Erla will sue the state and taxpayers will have to pay her over $1 million. That money should have come out of Dr. Rowley's pocket. It's him who have this country upside down right now. Remember, yellow is the code friends, and let's be safe out there today.
Lennox, get him name. Make sure you get and make sure it's spelled right and everything, because we, not you, we going to take him to court. That nasty vagrant from Shafford Court in Charlotte Street. Just get him name and give it to us, and we, you don't have to take part in it. We going to take him to court. That dirty, nasty, monkey blood fella.
Yes, Port of Spain, Gray for the P&M.
Good morning, Ground Report. Calling from Sangre Grande. I think Mr. Porter Spain is a distraction to the show. I think if he knows so much, well informed, and has so much time to call in all the programs on radio, I think he should have his own podcast. What do you think?
Good morning to the Gong Report and to you, Lennox, and to Mickie, and I hope Andy is feeling much better today with that throat. May he take some lozenges and it will help him get through today. But I'm trying to call for and tell you, Lennox, the Minister of Finance now signed for $3 million for IT infrastructure in Trinidad and Tobago to link up with different ministries. That works out about 20 million TT. We don't have $20 million TT, but $3 million US. We have to go and borrow that. Why they can take part of the $15 million that the P&M use for its private, for the functions for Christmas, for the Ministry of the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's office. $50 million. They'll take out $20 million. But we again, the taxpayers, have to pay the tax, have to pay back that money. $3 million US. That is how bad we come in this country. That's only one aspect of it, and there are so many other things. Look, I'm a small man still waiting on my VAT returns. He said, Minister of Finance at the end of December. Okay, prolonged it to the end of January. Since 2019, waiting for about $6,000 to $7,000 VAT return, and I can't get it. Where the money go? We mustn't forget. When election comes around, vote them clean out for stealing our money. They naturally, nothing more than that, they stole the money from the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and they should not be there again, ever. Okay, bye-bye. Have a nice day.
That was
Lennox, you continue to mislead people. Firstly, that wastewater treatment plant, it started with corruption because the SIS, their bid was $400 million more than the closest bidder, and they was awarded it, although they had no experiences. Secondly, they subletted the contract. They were paid over $1 billion up front. Look at it. I challenge you, I challenge anybody to pass there and see what we got for that money. And on top of that, the Krishna Lala Mamu, he left the same night of the general election and went Panama with our money not to come back. Stop misleading people and tell people the truth about that project. And you so concerned about Lavantil? Let us give you a rest now, man.
Andy Border. Why others give one man 5 and 6 times to call, and somebody else can get a time to call and make a contribution? That is not fair. One man calling 5 times, and the other people can get a chance.
Lennox, you could only fool those illiterates that just listen to everything and repeat it like a parrot. You could only fool the Dunn supporters. Everybody know, the whole entire nation know the facts of the Point Fortin Highway and also the facts of the Beta wastewater treatment, as well as live sport. Every Trinbagonian knows the facts about that. So you could come here and twist it and turn it and try and flip it how you want. The facts are there. The facts are there. All those 3 things that I mentioned are presently engaging the courts. So you could talk how much you want, it wouldn't change it. UNC was corrupted to the core, as well as, just imagine, Jack Warner, who's supposed to be a multi-millionaire, $6 million and claim that is what he paid to retrieve a fire truck that cost about $2 million. Oh, what corrupted set of individuals.
Well, Lennox, you can give them the numbers to call now.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But of course, as usual, of course, comic relief. Let me just give you the numbers before, of course, I make 1 or 2 comments, because we need to get on with, of course, sustainable development. And in a post-PNM era, I suppose that when reality strikes, of course, the Zandolis, and then, of course, try to defend the indefensible. And they come from either through the curtains or through the paved walls, or they come, of course, as a reform that was just, of course, enunciated. But let's go straight to the numbers to call: 225-6644, 225-6644, 239-5120, 239-5120, and of course, let's look at the WhatsApp, where you could leave a voice note. I suppose the people are making use of the voice note, and it appears that they are listening, so it is important. 366-3053, 366-3053. Of course, the last voice note, clearly, again, I have not dismissed in totality. Let me repeat, I have not dismissed in totality the lack of my nitty-gritty, my nuts and bolts on all of these matters. But of course, I will take them one by one. The fact of the matter is, with respect, of course, to the SIS matter, they seized some of their properties, their assets, and that was handed back to them. At least part of it was handed back to them. I don't know if the caller knows that, but of course, again, accusing others that which is in him, and that is to say, to parrot what he doesn't know, and then of course, with the highway to Point Fortin, it is pellucid, it is clear. I don't need to go further. The fact of the matter is that the arbitration said that the government of the day, the Rowley administration, breached the contract And so they must pay back the $1 billion that they got that Rowley said he spent on the what I consider the inchoate or the incomplete highway to Point Fortin. Let's not waste time. And of course, notice that he will not say that the policies of the UNC, as far as that highway is concerned, was of course the link. There's a nexus between that and another national import, and that is agriculture. Notice, because they can't think that far, but to be stupid and to of course be myopic and to be of course uninformed. Well, of course they are speaking of course obviously to those who still have some kind of residual sympathy for the PNM. But I noticed he didn't say what board that the PNM would have put him on for all that nonsense that he speaks. I'm sure that they are calling him saying, "Do not speak for the PNM," because you are not adding anything to the PNM cause. They are going to lose 39 seats in Trinidad, including of course the Lavantilles, even if it's for the first time. Go ahead. We have a caller. I sent you, of course, a video because I would want it to be played, or let me just introduce the topic one time. Remember we told you that anything
Give me
Rowley
the
said...
numbers and the video is almost ready.
Oh, the video is... All right, okay. So you will tell me when it is ready, but let me just give a prelude, an introduction to that particular video. When Dr. Rowley said that he in Parliament, and I think out of Parliament as well, that of course he will communicate, and did in fact communicate with of course not the Commonwealth but the CARICOM Secretariat for bringing observers here. I found it, and those who study Dr. Rowley found it too accommodating. Yeah, we found it too magnanimous. We found it too generous, because that would have been, of course, a contradiction to his stance before, especially when he used the opportunity of COVID to not bring in observers of an international repute or nature. We found it too. And then, of course, when he tried to thief the local government elections in the fashion where he wanted to postpone, and of course the Privy Council had to say, well, look, you try to infringe the people's constitutional right to vote. Of course, he went to Parliament and denied, which is, of course, is stereotypical. So we thought we should take a look. And then Saddam Hussein, as usual, the opposition, giving us, of course, the indicator that the wife of the present the Attorney General is the Assistant Secretary General to CARICOM. And so when you examine Rowley's statement with respect, of course, to having these observers here for the election from CARICOM, is what he said after. He dismissed and rendered nebulous, insignificant, and nonchalant the request of Kamla Prasad Bisesa and recommending certain other internationally recognized observers to come to monitor the 2025 ostensibly general elections in this country. Most he could go is the beginning of 2026. But that is irrelevant. But here his dismissal out of cap, and then saying that he will not invite anyone else, brought even further red flags. I say red flags, plural, to be, of course, associated with it, because he don't say anything lightly, especially where it is, of course, to hoodwink, deceive, and to get an unfair advantage, and to not have a level playing field as far as elections are concerned. So when he said that he will not have anybody else And we are talking about some serious institutions such as, of course, the Carter Foundation. I'm sure would have been in that list. I have not gotten the entire list, but I'm sure. Because they have a reputation. They were the ones that contributed to settling the matter in Guyana. We know that OAS as well. We know, of course, the United Nations has a department to treat with, of course, matters of this nature and send to countries to observe elections. And of course,
Lennox,
the Europeans as well.
Andy,
We have a
and
call?
Mike.
Oh,
Hi,
you have a
good
call?
morning, Lennox, Andy, and Mikey, even though you all are not there. Good morning to you all. And I'm Lennox. Last night I was watching the news, and I saw Rowley, Cummins, and I can't remember what the other guy name, but the three of them, all MPs. I saw them on the TV in these hats with string under the neck and things looking like that. I said, when I watch them, my first thing is, and then I saw them with this thing like provision or something in their hand. I said, well, Rowley going to another thing now. He bringing out a Juve band because the three of them look like 3-year-old master. You know? Well, I look and I listen. It's because this man talking about yam that we get from where it is? From some part of Africa, I think it is. You get yam and you get some 10,000 seeds to plant yam in Trinidad and Tobago. I said, well, I really thought it was a old man's band. I thought he was organizing for Juve. Yeah? In this time, all he could look to give people is yam. These people, I don't know, they're going from battles. But Rowley, they should tell him to send some chicken and some fish to go with the yam. We cannot put the yam alone, so they want me to eat just yam just so. To organize for the chicken, see what country you could go to now, to see if you could get some chicken. Let them send some chicken and some fish or some saltfish or something to go with the yam. You understand? People only wake up, you know. This government don't give the people anything. And when they give you something, they come in with yam. And he feels that is a big gift to the nation. Rowley, we want money. You see, just how you take the 47% for yourself, that is what we want. We want money so we can buy yam, your own yam. We can buy jam, lamb, steak, every medicine. All we know we can buy, we need the money to buy all of that now. So organize for that now. But they really feel people in this country stupid and deserve nothing. Yeah, deserve nothing. You give them nothing, you take everything, and when you give them something, we give them yam. How much people eat yam? Don't give it a break, eh?
Indeed, I have Mikey, Nubi, whoever in charge. We do not hear the voice, no one played in America. Port of Spain, I call you a Galaha, Port of Spain. I keep calling you a Galaha because you're a jack, you're a donkey monkey, and I don't know what you are. Brother man, my brother gave $1 million of bill up here. My brother. Lennox, one Port of Spain want to talk about corruption. I tell you that man is a Galaha. Port of Spain, I work for a contractor named Seram Brothers. I used to work in the river when we dragged widening the river, and Hugh Francis was the Minister of Works. And we was there when Hugh Francis came and to tell Mr. Ram said we need more money for the river. From whatever 11, 12 billion, another 10, 15 million, and who think they would cut out of that? Hugh Francis, we were there. He said, no problem, man, you're going to get the money. I used to work for the man's son too, Siram's son. So when you talk about corruption starts in the days of PNM with the youth and the horse track, the disc track. I think we the track probably got to have to run like heat. Yeah, the horses and the donkeys. Where's the horse track? You jack. Boy, you want us. Bye.
Invite them to call the numbers you give them and voice note, please.
Yes, certainly, of course, I will. The numbers to call, of course, is 225-6644. 225-6644. And then, of course, the other one, we have two numbers, yes, so 239-5120 for the new callers and those who have not yet commit the numbers to memory. 239-5120, 239-5120. And of course, WhatsApp, send us a note on that one. Only WhatsApp, 366-3053. 366-3053. Yes, indeed. So I was making a point with respect, of course, to Dr. Rowley's generosity, magnanimity, saying, of course, that he has sent, of course, a letter to CARICOM and that, of course, they would be here. But, of course, dismissing the additional and other, what I consider to be very credible, their credibility cannot be questioned, even more experienced than CARICOM in terms of witnessing or superintending of or assisting the superintending of elections across the globe, and therefore you can't want nothing better than that. But Rowley was very glib. He was dismissive. He was superficial. He was nonchalant, suggesting by his conduct and his body language that is a waste of time, etc. Imagine. OAS is involved in that. The Carter Foundation is involved. So when we examine and when he said that he's not writing anybody else, then of course a person like myself and others will certainly have concern. You know what the advantage, or put another way, the concern has manifested. The Assistant Secretary General of CARICOM is, as I was saying earlier, Amor's wife. And therefore, whilst we cannot impugn her integrity, etc., but we can look at what transpired with the emails, and we're always insistent that the Integrity Commission look at those emails. And then we realize that Ken Gordon, the chairman of the Integrity Commission, whom he went with those very pieces of paper rather than going to the secretariat to make it objective and transparent. He went, of course, to Ken Gordon. Ken Gordon had to resign. And then, of course, we didn't know at the time, but we know afterwards that Justice Ventor, was also being vice chairman of that particular entity as part and parcel of the Integrity Commission. And when the Integrity Commission said that these things were rubbish, these things were nonsense, these things couldn't go anywhere, Ventor, resigned from the Integrity Commission and went out there and said that he disagreed with the Integrity Commission because that is what he has to do legally. Otherwise, he could find himself in deep waters. So he resigned and then said that they should look at the contents of those things that couldn't go on anywhere and therefore could not be deemed as emails because the email addresses never existed, or they were not in conformity with what Google and other platforms would, of course, consider to be an email thread or an email address. I mean, and here it is. For further confirmation, the same Ventor is now, of course, a one-man chairman. I think they add one to it. A one-man chairman of a commission of inquiry to investigate the acquisition of land for the highway to Point Fortin under the UNC. So the point I am making here is that do not be surprised if his sudden generosity, because all the time, remember he was saying that, listen, since he came into office and he himself writing, of course, the Commonwealth Secretariat and, of course, the very CARICOM community to ask for independent observers, but Kabbalah Prasad, the assistant UNC, they subscribe to principles and they would have always had independent observers here. But as soon as he comes in and it's his turn, fearful, of course, that he will be out because all that email, etc., he only got 23 seats, 23 seats. So he knows that his asses are grasses. And so, of course, to create conditions that will give him an unfair advantage. So when we get to find out that Amon's wife is the Assistant Secretary General, you must be concerned having regard to Rowley's antecedent. You have to be a fool to do the same thing over and over. Know what this man is capable of stealing an election, and you want me to be comfortable? No, you're going to see in the next few days. Not only would be a dossier sent to the State Department of the United States, who monitor, of course, countries, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, on matters of this nature, and every single iniquity against the undermining of the electoral process perpetrated by Rowley and his government will be noted and sent, as well as, of course, in other international agencies, including, of course, the United Nations and those, of course, in Europe as well. That is what we have to do. Apart from, because there are those who are of the view that we should, of course, be protesting. Well, I think, of course, all of those elements should be brought to bear on this nefarious, anti-democratic, and undermining, of course, of the electoral process proven by the Rowley administration. This fella Young, as I said, is a clone of the man in terms of his attitude and conduct. So we're not going to waste time and take no chance as a population. The opposition have their work to do, but I'm inviting every single citizen who have the gift of writing, or you can I will assist as well, but send your emails, send your concerns to the United Nations, send it to the State Department through the diplomatic pouch, or you can send it directly. We will, on the corridor, we will be, of course, putting all of these addresses and who to communicate in order to make certain that Rowley doesn't get away with, of course, the intention that he has to steal the 2025 elections. You know why? Because he knows that his silver bracelets and blue lights in his tail, and his, of course, entire cabinet, because all of them, in my view, should be charged for treason, the highest crime you could commit in any country, having regard, of course, to their poor performance and the way how they have scuttled and, of course, have deprived and, of course, abused and believe that somehow they could breach the rule of law, the separation of powers, and the independence of very well-established check and balance institutions in this country and get away with it. No. So if you have that clip available, if you can play it now, because I thought I should at least give a prelude, give an introduction as to what that video is all about. And of course, we tracked down his wife, yes, Laimo's wife, and she is, of course, in that clip as well.
It's ready.
Go ahead.
I have already given the instruction, the draft is prepared, any minute that can come in front of me. I have already indicated to the Secretariat of CARICOM that the government of Trinidad and Tobago is asking CARICOM to send a delegation whenever the election takes place in Trinidad and Tobago. We expect a CARICOM delegation.
With elections constitutionally due in 2025, opposition leader Kamala Sasa has repeatedly asked for international observers. However, Dr. Rowley maintains the observer team will be from within CARICOM.
So we are going to have CARICOM. We are going to have CARICOM. I did receive from the member for some of our underlings a list of all kind of talk and carry from OEO and Timbuktu. I'm not invited them here.
When the United National Congress wins, everybody wins. When the UNC wins, everybody wins. When the UNC wins, everybody wins. They don't care about you. They care about themselves. It is time we get them out of office. My brothers and sisters, you have to mobilize this country. We cannot take another 5 years of this government. But today, my brothers and sisters, we have to mobilize. We have to mobilize. And I am calling on you people to be vigilant in the next election. Because what I am about to tell you is a very important matter that came to my attention this week. The political leader of the UNC has called for election observers, both international and regional observers. You all remember that? And Rowley said he had the letter by desk. Apparently he signed the letter and he sent it to CARICOM. So CARICOM now will be the body who will send election observers to Trinidad to ensure that elections are being conducted in a fair manner.
It has been brought to my attention, and I cast no aspersion on any person. Do you know who is the Assistant Secretary General of the CARICOM? None other than the wife of the Attorney General, Reginald Amo, Senior Counsel. So CARICOM, and I cast no aspersions on CARICOM, I cast no aspersions on the goodly Mrs. Solomon or the Attorney General. But there must be an appearance of fairness. There must never be an appearance of bias in these matters. So if Mrs. Solomon, the wife of the Attorney General, sits in the CARICOM Secretariat as the Assistant Secretary General, how do you expect us to feel about the observers that come here? And I cast no aspersions on the fairness of the observers. But that is a matter I believe should be raised in the national interest. That is a very important matter.
47th Heads of Government is going to be a particularly important meeting. And it's a meeting in which I think we are going to demonstrate how effective we have been in the last 3 years, but particularly in the last year. You mentioned Haiti. The role that CARICOM has played, and the CARICOM heads of government have played in bringing Haiti to the point that it is now, is not to be underestimated at all. I think that the heads of government made a commitment a year ago to support Haiti through a very difficult period, and a lot has happened since the last heads of government. And where we are now, where we have a Haitian-owned process with the transitional presidential council in place, transitional prime minister in place, is entirely due to the work that was done by Caribbean heads of government. And that is quite extraordinary.
So my brothers and sisters, if we vote resoundingly, and we come out in our numbers, they can try how hard they can and thief this election from us, because the will of the people is the will of God. And when people speak, that is the voice of God. So I ask you all, in San Fernando West, in Aram West St. Joseph, in Barataria Sava, Toko Sangre Grande, La Hakata Alvaro, Moruga Tiblan, all of the marginal seats together with all of the other constituencies of Trinidad and Tobago. Rise up Trinidad and Tobago. Let us get rid of this Christopher Rowley administration. Get rid of Stuart Young. Get rid of Forrest Arawi. And let us install Kamala Prasad as our next Prime Minister, together with the UNC government. I thank you very much, Faisal, for your...
So we are going to have CARICOM. We are going to have CARICOM. I did receive from the members of some of our ladies a list of what I talked and CARICOM from OU and Timbuktu. I'm not invited in here. I'm not invited in here. I'm not invited in here. So we are going to have CARICOM. We are going to have CARICOM. I did receive from the members of some of our ladies a list of what I talked and CARICOM from OU and Timbuktu. I'm not invited in here.
Be vigilant in the next election. The political leader of the UNC has called for election observers, both international and regional observers. You all remember that? And Rowley said he had the letter by this. Apparently signed the letter and he sent it to CARICOM. So CARICOM now will be the body who will send election observers to Trinidad to ensure that elections will be conducted in a fair manner. Do you know who is the Assistant Secretary General of the CARICOM? None other than the wife of the Attorney General, Reginald Amo, Senior Counsel. So CARICOM, and I cast no aspersions on CARICOM, I cast no aspersions on the goodly Mrs. Solomon or the Attorney General. But there must be an appearance of fairness. There must never be an appearance of bias in these matters. So if Mrs. Solomon, the wife of the Attorney General, sits in the CARICOM Secretariat as the Assistant Secretary General, how do you expect us to feel about the observers that come here? And I cast no aspersions on the fairness of the observers. But that is a matter I believe should be raised in the national interest. That is a very important matter.
So we are going to have CARICOM. We are going to have CARICOM. I did receive from the members of some of our ladies a list of what I talked and CARICOM from OU and Timbuktu. I'm not invited in here. I'm not invited in here.
I said that?
Okay, Lennox, you could go ahead now.
Yes, indeed. And of course, people, I want you to throw your minds back because it's the same kind of bravado and the same kind of rambunctious and, of course, audacious statements. Because if you know, he must have known that Amor's wife is the Secretary General of CARICOM, and therefore that will raise concern. And you have the audacity to again say that you've invited nobody else but them. And I want you, of course, to understand it's the same pattern of behavior with respect to, of course, the current head or the elections and boundaries narcissists.
You will take a call
Yes,
now, please.
The chief elections officer, who, of course.
Let's take a call, please.
All right, go ahead. Concern was, please, but go ahead.
Thank you very much, operator. Good morning, Mickie, Lennox Smith, Andy, Trinidad and Tobago Central here. Good morning. Andy, wherever you are, we all missing you. Lennox is running it rather nice. Thank you so much. A speedy recovery for you, right, Andy? So may God continue blessing each and every single one of you. And to our operator, you're doing a fantastic, fabulous work, sir. Right? Nice. So, Lennox, I just look at that little clip there that you all share. So, Trinidadians are really not understanding yet the intention that this wicked, corrupted, dirty-minded, nasty, lying, thieving PNM government, what they want to do and get away scotch-free. Only ain't seen that yet. Only understanding that yet. As we say it already, and we'll say it again. We all, as Trinidadians, supposed to down there on the outside on the streets, hitting and demanding for a general election in this country, Trinidadians. It is too much on and above with this government. You understand what I'm saying, Trinidadians? Why these people stand up cutting ribbon and counting 1, 2, 3 and clapping yay after when they're done? The whole of Trinidad and Tobago crying blood tears because they can't see a better right in this place. Since the PNM, the government that running this country right now, is in government. You understand what I'm saying? They can't see something called like daylight. It's like only night over your head, only dark clouds over your head. Trinidadians, how much more in this pressure that we can take in this country? Ask for yourself that question once more. How much more? How much more information? How much more things? All you need to see and understand that PNM is not healthy. PNM is like poison to the body. PNM is not good. PNM is the problem in this country. Let us imagine when you're driving. You can't drive no more straight on the road. You cannot drive straight no more. You have to start to drive in style. As long as PNM, you have to drive zigzag. How much more in this we can take, Trinidadians? How much more murders? No, that's from last year. Check from the 600 plus to this present time. And murders in this country. 700 and something people was brutally murdered in this country. Who kidnapped and whatever the outcome is murder. Trinidadians, what a game we have to wait on. What a game we have to see, as I say. We have to see the place growing up. Then to understand the kind of racket and kind of people running our affairs in this country, man. The police service is a corrupted, dirtiness and all too. It's who fighting for position, who want to set up who it is a edge. Every action have a reaction, only not seeing the people. It's every God make a single day, Lennox, Mickie and Andy, and our operators, all of them will be receiving us the proper information. And you telling me this Porterfield is fully done uneducated, waste of time, wasting of space in life, man called Porterfield. Wasting the breath and confusing and confuzzling the people on this non-solid educated program, man. Eh? I'm telling on you, COVID take the wrong set of people, boy. COVID take the wrong set of people. The wicked ones and them still here. They're just picking up a space in this land. But I'm telling on you, the longest road have an end. And God don't sleep. Praises move mountain. So if this man tell himself, now let me tell you something. If people tell themselves, so they don't have God to answer to when they leave this wicked land. This corrupted land called Trinidad and this world. We live in Trinidad, and we don't have to answer judgment day. So things to the Almighty, the Creator, and Father in heaven. Here I telling you, go people to do anything and everything. But if half a day will come, you have to face in judgment. And who feel higher than that? Them days are numbered. Them days are numbered in this country. You understand what I'm saying, Trinidad? Good will always conquer evil. No good, no wicked could conquer goodness, right? I always learn that from small. You understand what I'm saying, Trinidad? So people only have to kind of rise up a little bit, right? Or let them rise up for the rights in this country a little bit, right? Just yesterday, what going on? Eh? Now, if you see them wrong, we be demanding that they're wrong, you know. But you're seeing where there's a lot of advantage taken to this country. You understand? They could come and destroy you, but they will never provide you any kind of government we have run in this country, right? We are slaves. As you said, they're selling out everything, and nothing is being put back in place. All you understand is government don't have a sense to run anything. What again? All you have to keep asking on yourself, what again, Lord? Show us the way now. Or we just keep feeling all as the Senate supporters at the ground report and the regular chorus say, let us know. Change all their mindset. We're talking about the hardcore places. Change all their mindset because all they want to live better and all they want the generation to live better too. Come one day to come all the way to this world. Let them live in something in harmony and then live in something where they feel like it's war. They have to come and face me because them is the younger generation coming up. Children are going to get better and get more serious and get more stronger and get more smarter and tougher and ready for them on the outside here. You understand? Don't take no rubbish from them. So wrapping up this conversation, Trinidad and Tobago, when you see PNM come in front of all the place, for once more, or you run them like a dog. Tell them go from here, just ask them the question, what have they have ever done for the last past 10 years? Just say what they do. And then I will know and give you the right answer what they need to get. You understand? I want to answer, just run them from in front of all the place. Just remember, Trinidadians, PNM done dead. PNM blaze the PNM nothing, and just remember, put on your X because voting is very important. Put it where we make a difference for all your other generation. Remember, the code is yellow all the way, and remove it anti-camp, 400. Lennox, your turn and listen, and it's that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have another call?
No, go ahead.
Yes, indeed. I want people to understand the chronology. I want you to understand the anecdotes that we have observed, all of us, about Dr. Rowley and the whole question of elections. Before he got into office in 2015, consequential of that election, September 7th of that year, he wrote to the Commonwealth Secretariat and the CARICOM asking for observers. He, Rowley, as opposition leader, wrote asking for independent observers. And in that letter, he had 22 points. And one of them was that he, as opposition leader, presented some documents he called emails in the parliament, and he is concerned that the contents of what he presented may well be manifested, and therefore he is urging them to come here. Of course, they send back and tell him that you don't have the authority so to do, is the sitting Prime Minister. And of course, the sitting Prime Minister not only invited, of course, CARICOM, she invited, of course, the Commonwealth Secretariat, a number of other persons or institutions to come here and observe the elections. Notice that. I want you to notice that. Now, when he got into government, the first opportunity at elections where a call was made, at least at the local government levels, he said blatantly no. When, of course, the elections was nearing, of course, a close contest. It is all right if, of course, the contest wasn't close. But now that it is close, it's obvious as an opposition, I would want to know that we have, of course, independent observers. He said blatantly no, but he had control over that. And, of course, when the outcome of the elections in Tobago, the last one, or the one before that, where he had a 6-6 situation, he unilaterally, by himself, he and his government, went to the parliament and increased the number of seats in Tobago by 3. It's clear that the intention was, and he said it, whether it was a Freudian slip or slip of the tongue, as the case may be, in the parliament, he said it's up to he to break the tie. When there were well-established ties like pulling straw, etc., or sharing, of course, power, no, he didn't want that. They want the whole hog. So he went to the parliament. And, of course, knowing full well that the EBC will be beholding, or that they will grovel, or that they will do what is asked, because on the pretext that the parliament gave them instructions with only 21 seats, or 22 seats at the time, 22 seats. And, of course, prior to that, when Nasa Scope, the chief elections officer of EBC, and the red flag was raised about her being, of course, a close relative to a government minister, Coffee, at the time. Rowley said that he didn't know her. He said he turned to one of his minions in the press conference and said, Master, I didn't even know that she was elevated to the position of chief elections officer. However, when we did the research now, we discovered that Ms. Nasa Scope was a government representative who CARICOM, as a CARICOM delegation, to resolve or to help resolve the problem of the consequence of the elections in Guyana. More than that, Rowley visited Guyana during that turbulent period to, of course, decide the outcome of that elections. And if you went there, you must be in contact with the Trinidad and Tobago representative, quite apart from she being, of course, the government representative here. Government making the decision here to send her. It could be somebody else, but they sent her. So tell me when Guyana and you meet her at all. But he comes back here and tells us that he didn't know that she was, of course, appointed as chief elections officer in the EBC. The point I am making here is that when he went again to introduce 3 additional seats in Tobago, he had, of course, clearly, even though, of course, there's a mandate as far as the parliamentary process is concerned, and it was made law, etc., and they had a duty and responsibility. But, of course, when we check in Tobago, seats that would normally be associated with the PNM, they found, of course, the 3 seats. But I want Trinidad to know that the Tobagonians made up their mind, as you have done on this occasion as well. 39 seats in Trinidad for the UNC and any configuration that they will come up with to accommodate the elections. And of course, inside of that, you will know that Rowley's insincerity, his dishonesty, his proclivity to undermine electoral process and to get an advantage and to make sure that the playing field is not level is monumental, is well known, is public. And therefore, when he was magnanimous, when he was vociferous, when he was enthusiastic, that he has written to CARICOM, and when, of course, recommendation was made for other such as places like the Commonwealth Secretariat, because that was one of the institutions. Not only were they fervent and instrumental in the resolving of the elections in Guyana, but that was an institution that he wrote as well. In COVID, I have a copy of the letter he wrote the Commonwealth Secretariat. Today he's telling us that only CARICOM observers must come. You know what I'm telling you? And we mustn't be, we must be that stupid to trust him, and whatever concoction and whatever pernicious and evil attempt at undermining the next elections is concerned, because he understands that it is inevitable blue lights and silver braces for he and his entire cabinet. So he's desperate. What we have to do, as I said, we have already done it. I said something already and said the next one, based on these recent developments, to the State Department of the United States, through the whatever ambassador will be stationed here. But I ain't waiting for that. We send it, of course, by post. By post, yes, delivered. Directly delivered by postal parcel to the State Department there. Yeah, we have FedEx and the other internationally recognized delivery parcel entities here in Trinidad. So we will do that. I'll communicate, of course, with my friends in the American University in Washington as well, Professor Bennett, who I had, of course, a very close relationship with, and of course, I lectured at that university as well. So we are going to use all of the networks that we have to expose Dr. Rowley's attempt at dictatorship in Trinidad and Tobago. Because that is, under normal circumstances, that is a dictator that is making those pronouncements. Because what will prevent you from just writing a letter to the Commonwealth Secretariat at least, and just say not them too? No. And then we now know, similar to the NASASCOPE Chief Elections Officer scenario, Amor's wife, or should I say, Amor's wife, I just forget his name sometimes. Amor's wife is the Assistant General Secretary of the Commonwealth, a person, as you saw in the clip, wielding a lot of power, a lot of influence there. The piece of the clip that you saw there with her, Miss Elizabeth, of course, Solomon, was in respect of settling the situation in Haiti. So she has a lot of power. And of course, if you need to know more, you will get it on the corridor, because we'll have a whole series on that. Let them understand that nothing, just as how they are leaving nothing, no stone unturned to try to thief the elections, we must have counterbalancing initiative, and we must be not only be relentless and brutal just as they, but our stick-to-itiveness and our tenacity must not be in any way described to be wanting, because we will leave no stone unturned. So it's the United Nations, it is the OS, it is, of course, the European Commission, is, of course, the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights. All of them we will, of course, communicate with. Rowley must not institute dictatorship in our democracy. The time has come to put an end to that nonsense. And of course, as I said, 39 seats in Trinidad to do what you want. Because of course, all the talk you talk in 2015, you only get 23 seats. But getting on as though you get a landslide, and talking as if you get a landslide, and telling people what? That you will only have what? You will only write it to them. But they will come here on their own volition and stop them from coming up. Stop them from coming when they decide to come. And we, of course, will let you know when they are coming, who will be coming, etc. Because we are on our own in terms of protecting and defending our democracy and the integrity of the electoral process. Well, we cannot come now and say, after you write a letter to all these people about Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and the fear you have, that of course the elections will not be free from fear. After you did that to get where you are, now you get there, you want to execute an auto coup. A coup. An auto coup, of course, is a scenario where a party gets into government, as is the case with the PNM and Rowley, and then, of course, proceed to use state resources, the state apparatus, the state elements in order to stay in office. That is what has happened here. And we must not countenance that. We must not we must not believe that we are innocent and, of course, lamb to the slaughter at the mercy of this man who, of course, begged us to be in office. Beg us. He came wolf in sheep clothing. Wolf in sheep clothing. And tell us that he's a Democrat. And that of course, he is a anti-corruption advocate. And when he gets into office, he's a promoter of corruption, nepotism, cronyism, and an underminer of the electoral and democratic processes. And of course, an infringer of the rule of law, of the separation of powers, as we see, and have violated all independent institutions of significance in this country, including the Police Service Commission, including the Office of the President. He did it in two ways as far as the President is concerned. Get the President involved in the bacchanal as far as the rescinding of that decision that caused, of course, the entire Police Service Commission to resign. Bliss Passage is no longer blissful. I'm sure that they have a hatred for the man. They must have a hatred for the man after all. He caused to be short-lived and embarrass them. And that is on their resume and in the public domain. So they can feel comfortable that we made that move illegally. And they, like lamb to the slaughter, he abused their trust in him that they reposed. And he exploited it to the hilt. Exploited to the hilt. In order, of course, to have his way as far as Gary Griffith is concerned in that particular occasion. So the man is an anti-democratic individual. He is a narcissist. And he has, of course, totalitarian ambition and disposition. And arrogant and contemptuous, not just of the people, but of those very institutions that are there to protect us. And he believed he could impose himself on the people and continue, of course, as they repose their trust in him back in 2015 and has delivered pain, ache, agony, misinformation, disinformation, poor delivery, if at all, and of course, undermining the electoral process, and we must take that in a democracy. No, we must not. And Laventille, I say to you, in particular, that Rowley and they, the PNM, are owing us. They are owing us because we gave them the opportunity to be where they are today. By of course staying steadfast. We have a call?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Morning,
Let's not waste time with these people and them. Let's do what we have to do. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good day. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Calling from the Barrack Party. Gentlemen, when you look at all the countries in the world, the society that reflect the type of governance they are governed by. When you see China, communism, North Korea, communism, you will see how the population reacts and how the citizenry operate. in our democracy, is there no different? And when you have the type of governance we are having with this present administration, one had to ask why it is that the crime is so much, why it is there are so much lawlessness taking place, nothing function in the country, and it just demonstrates again the governance that we have. Now, if people want to continue that way and don't have a society that is structured, that is well respected, citizens respect each other, we have respect for the law and the institution in this country, we could continue the direction that we go in. But I want to draw a simple example as to what we do want in this country. You see, yesterday or the day before, they were breaking on a set of people's houses up in Tumpuna Road up there. We don't want that. We don't want the support of these people and coming to support our government now because the houses are being demolished. The cry from these people was, well, we go vote UNC now. We giving Kamala we vote. Kamala and the UNC would do without all your votes. All you continue to vote PNM. Because for the last 9 years, all you support PNM, all you wine and dine and wheelie with Rowley and them, and now all you get the true taste of governance by the PNM. You're running now to come by Kamala. We don't want all you. Continue sleeping on the road now. Because, I just always say this, the PNM government just create the problem and then come to try to fix it. Now, if you notice, from Valencia go straight up to Sani Grande heading to Toko, they allow squatting to become rampant in them areas and them. The lawlessness, the crime, everything goes with squatting. PNM allow that to happen because any blind person could have see the type of squatting taking place. Even on the beach when you used to go and relax in Toko beach there to have a nice time, squatters take over the whole beach front there. So you can't go and be comfortable again there anymore. Now they come, they break them down. If in the morning they come and they tell them here was the scene, we go give all the land, they go back and vote PNM and catch a tail for the next 5 years or how long again. So that mentality of when they get what they want from the lawless, disgusting, hateful government, they feel now that how they can run and come to beg and play that how they're holding some other government a ransom to give them the vote because of what they think. For a society to survive, like Trinidad and Tobago, you have to follow the law and you have to do the right thing. Now those same, when the UNC was in government, Pandey and then Kamala, they made housing available for low-income people who cannot afford. They tell you here what, pay a small amount of money for this piece of land and build all your house. Don't build up no little squatting area and thing. People who were squatting, they said here was the scene. Kamala, we giving all your land for the landless, develop it and have some sort of security in their life. They didn't want that. They were PNM. They were left foot, right foot. They wanted that and they get it. They build up and they do all the lawlessness so the PNM government is allowed. And then now, when again the hot at the end of the stick, they're running coming out, oh, we will go and vote for Kamala now, or Foster Cummins, you lost your seat. Let me tell you something. Foster Cummins, you remain with your seat right there. And you remain with your squatters them in your other community right there. The UNC and Trinidad and Tobago need this type of mentality from people who don't want better for the country. All they want better is for themselves. Remember the two idiots who were talking about Kamala going to take away we laptop and she going to raise the fuel price and what we going to do and they playing Russian roulette? Where them there now? You hear anything from them? You understand? So, if this country needs to go forward, we have to go forward with people who really want to make little sacrifices, do the right thing, and the country would move forward. Not this kind of dotishness. Only when something affects you personally, then you realize that our government plays so much of a role in your daily lifestyle. And it's something I always say, every living daylight, you open your eyes, and every breath you take, politics have a big part to play in it. And when you decide that you will survive for a little while with the wrongdoings and the illegal way of a government that functions illegally, you'll get away for a little while, but it wouldn't be for long. And if you want something to prosper, you want to have a future for you and your children, you have to do the right thing, and you have to put a government in power that don't see today for today, but see today for an opportunity to have a tomorrow, and to build a tomorrow, and to ensure that when you see you get up in the morning, you have a future in front of you, and you could plan a family, you could plan to invest, you could plan to have a home and educate your children and see a future. That don't ever happen with the PNM government. And so, again, I would say, we don't want this kind of mentality, and we don't want people who feel that the only time they will support a UNC government is when they have nowhere to sleep and nothing to eat. So all you could stay with Foster comments. Have a good morning, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe.
Okay, go ahead.
You have another call?
You go ahead there.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We have another call.
Okay, we got a call on the line here again.
Okay, go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller. I want to respond to that last caller there, but I want to make sure that, but I want to say something, but I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to speak. So go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead. The floor
Right,
is yours.
Paula here, brother. Lennox, I don't know, I saw on the news last night, on one of those foreign stations, America seized one of the Venezuelan plane in Santo Domingo, and they will continue to rehash and to impose the sanctions on Venezuela. So, you know, it leaves you to wonder now what the predicament that we are in, whereas the gas and oil, the dragon gas thing is concerned. So that could leave us in abeyance then, you know, because that is where this government was solely depending on to bring us out of this morass where they have put us on by shutting down a petrol train. I also saw on the news last night, Lennox.
Yes, go ahead.
You know, you remember the Bangladesh Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina. She has run from the country.
Yeah. Exile, yeah.
Right, she's in exile. I saw on the news last night they demolished her house in Bangladesh.
Wow.
They demolished it. If they show you last night how the citizens there, how they go on there, they mash down the building. A massive building, eh? So just to show you, Rowley, people ain't taking this damn nonsense no more. But I don't know, Lennox, no. I switch on to Gael and it has come on late, you know, on the channel, right? On the TV. But so I happened to switch on to Synergy with Stefan. And yes. I just heard a little something. I don't know if you could help me out with it. Is it that the Financial Intelligence Unit has now red flagged something like $8 billion, something they discovered? Are you aware of that, Lennox?
Yeah. 2 billion in 22, and then it is up to about 8 to 9 billion now in, of course, questionable transactions. Yeah.
That is from whom? The government or private business or what? And Lennox?
Yeah.
That is involving the government?
I know good, but go ahead.
Right.
Speak,
Yeah,
the gist of it, yeah.
That transaction you're talking about there, that red flagging, is it involved with the government something of corruption or or squandermania or thievery or something like that. And I am saying this. Where was this Financial Intelligence Unit? Where is the Security and Exchange Commission? Where is the Integrity Commission? Where is the police service in this and all of that? And that's why you see I have no sympathy for Ola Christopher and them. Because they know they was given a blasted job to do some investigation onto all these issues that was taking place, including that with Carl Melbert and the Auditor General matter and whatnot. Well, you just stay quiet, just like the procurement regulator. Everybody just sit down there and get a salary. All these so-called state institutions, the Paria and Heritage and all of that. When no
in case you hear me, connecting to me, I cannot hear you, so you go ahead and make your points.
Right. Whereas, they have not submitted Paria and Heritage, and they have not submitted financial audited accounts for this from since 2020. So it leaves you to wonder what it is really going on in this country. Who is the watchdog? Is it the opposition, UNC, and the Ground Report? Something is happening, Lennox, that now you're seeing all these things unveiling, and then the revelation that is taking place. It leaves you to wonder, as you were talking about, is this really a democratic society? Are these the institutions really who are responsible to being the watchdog of this country, and to see that this country is run through democracy, the institutions and whatnot? And nobody is doing anything about it, Lennox. Huh? I mean, it is frightening, Lennox. It is frightening. So therefore, when these things, when you see these things reach that crisis, and the small man who's suffering, who can't get a walk and whatnot, what else would he do? He has no hope in none of the institutions that who has the responsibility.
So give me an indication, because I'm not hearing anything.
Well, all right. You hear me? You hear me now? Are you hearing?
Next caller on the line, please.
The next caller? Yeah. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller.
He got cut off. You go ahead.
Huh?
He got cut off. You go ahead.
All right, okay. Yes, indeed. So I was making the point that all of us have a duty and responsibility to make certain, but I want to make sure that we respond appropriately at the position of the ground report on the matter of persons who may have now seen the light and decide, of course, that they are going to vote, and that they have now become anti-PNM, because we know this is a process. And I want to also start this discussion by... we have a caller?
Now we lose him.
All right, we lost him? Uh-huh.
Yeah, we lost him.
All right, good. So I want to start from how people end up, of course, choosing a cause or engage in a cause for the betterment of and the amelioration of a particular people who may have been oppressed. And of course, I could have no better examples than Mandela, than of course Gandhi. Of course, we had even in his early days. Well, let me don't use that one, because he ended up being, of course, a despot. But certainly, of course, people like Butler locally, and George Weeks and so on. And what would have motivated them to, of course, try to make an intervention to ameliorate the to alleviate and, of course, ameliorate people's conditions and so on? It would have been an experience that they would have had. Invariably, of course, Mandela was jailed, of course, in Gandhi, so of course the level of, should I say, pain and distress that people were suffering both in South Africa and in India, and decided to do something about it. But go ahead. Well, caller, I don't want to utilize one modicum of your time.
Yes, Lennox. Good morning, blessed love.
Yes, go ahead.
I think that the chairman of the Tobago House of Assembly should also be involved in writing to the international observers to intervene into that election because they are part of it too.
That's right.
Blessings.
Okay, you go ahead now, Mr.
All right, go ahead. Yes. So there must be some traumatic, if you want to call that, or some significant experience, external, in the society, in the environment that one would have existed for them to, develop and even into an institution in themselves or icon in themselves or institutions to address it way beyond their lifespan on Earth. Why I'm saying that? I'm saying that the same thing applies on a micro level, so that if a person were conditioned to believe and their culture and their tradition was to vote the PNM, whether you're in Laventille, whether, of course, you are in La Hoketa, whether you're in Arima, as the case may be. And, of course, the time has come where a traumatic experience would have upset you or would have enveloped your and invaded your sanctity and your sanctuary, and you now become conscious. By all means, you have a right, of course, to say, listen, not me and the PNM. No, I understand the concern with respect, of course, to if the PNM comes and say, listen, and Mama Gayu and say, listen, take this piece of land, go in a HC house, etc. The tendency to, of course, reminisce back into, of course, that mold that clearly is a deceptive mold, but it is part of your reality. I understand that intellectually, but when you look in the context of Trinidad and Tobago as to all of the circumstances and the performance of the government, whether your personal circumstance was addressed, you have a duty clearly to say, no, these people have been evil to Trinidad and Tobago generally, and they want to use me as what the psychologists will call what is called framing, where they will use me to suggest that they are not as bad as they have been to me. I never expected that they would have been as bad to me as they had in fact not just expressed, but had taken action. And therefore, in such circumstances, that is why I'm saying that places like Laventille must, of course, now be at a conscientious level, to say the time has come, because you have absorbed and tolerated all of that betrayal, all of that neglect, all of that self-serving agenda of Balize House and the leadership therein, and you have assisted them in becoming multi-millionaires, etc. And therefore you must now turn. So I am not of the view to ask people not to come on board. I am of the view that once you have come to the realization that, of course, 5 years is not an eternity, as opposed to what the PNM will tell you, you know what you have, so don't shift based on culture, based on tradition, based on texture of hair, based on color of skin. You must decide conscientiously, and therefore, of course, make the paradigm shift that is required, because they have proven to be, generally to Trinidad and Tobago, to be poison, to be the existential threat to our democracy, the rule of law, the separation of powers, and of course, the economic advancement of Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore your children, your children, your children's children will suffer more from a common sense assessment perspective under a PNM as opposed to a Kamala Prasad Bissessa UNC administration that has demonstrated that milk, ham, lamb, jam, and honey was flowing between 2010 and 2015, in spite of, because the Tobagonians realized that. They couldn't hit them, the Calcutta ship. They tried to reinvent the Calcutta ship. And it was, of course, the PNM lucky they get a seat. They're lucky they get a seat. They must feel totally decimated, totally annihilated, totally devastated when the bell would have tolled and the results of the next elections comes in favor of Kamala Prasad Bissessa and the UNC, all 39 seats in Trinidad. That is how we have to think. And say, and therefore, all on board. All on board. Whether they give you something or not, all on board. You must do what they said they told you to do, and you realize now it is really and truly encouraging you to commit political, social, economic, cultural, intellectual, and cognitive suicide. So you know who they are, and therefore they must not engage in that kind of nefarious act, that kind of diabolical act, that kind of barbaric or barbarian conduct. Machiavelli, they call it. And of course, expected to remain in office to continue that evil. The entire cabinet, therefore the government, the kitchen cabinet, and all of those who have been associated with propping up this evil called and criminal enterprise called the PNM. You just have to watch, focus on Barisdale House alone and ask yourself where they get our money from. The only stuff you can get our money, over $100 million and counting, is because they have been in government. And of course, it was a party that Rowley said was owing over $5 million in 2015. How the hell? Why they couldn't do it in the previous 30-something years or 40 years that they were in office? Why? Because you have, of course, a rapscallion at the helm who is prepared to engage in brinksmanship and take the population to a point where we have now become the laughing stock and, of course, the most corrupt country in the democratic Western Hemisphere. Democratic Western Hemisphere. Yeah. I have no doubt in my mind. So, people, I want to tell you that those of you who have said no more PNM, I commend you. And, of course, the preference is that you must sustain it and reflect it, of course, in elections, in votes. Because we need every single vote. Because we don't know yet, having regarded to the intention of Rowley, clear from what you have said, and we will play the clip in a while. We have seen, with respect, of course, to his sudden love for observers, but only from CARICOM. Sudden love for observers, but only from CARICOM. Only from CARICOM. He wants, of course, to try to impose a Maduro on Trinidad and Tobago. That is what he wants to do. But we must, of course, be conscious, and we must say no to it. And once we go out there and we vote, if it's 20 persons in a constituency and 20 voted, he will have to account as to where the next one, if it's 21, end up being in the ballot box or it being in the count. He will have to answer as to where that one come from. So let us not waste time. We have to monitor, of course, the police or who takes these ballot boxes from one point to the next. Because we know the role of Suzette Martin, for example, who is a deputy commissioner of police, in the recently unfolding imbroglio. And of course, notwithstanding the fact that the court said that she had to be part and parcel of the kidnapping of a Trinidad and Tobago citizen from, of course, Barbados. That's not waste time. And therefore, that could be translated into the pernicious attempt to undermine the electoral process and, of course, brutally impose themselves on the people who would have intended and voted otherwise. Let's not waste time. Let us not waste time, Laventil. And therefore, of course, we expect that you will be on the right side of history on this occasion because the PNM has betrayed you. They owe you. They owe you since 1986. They owe Laventil. Oh, it's not by chance or not pie in the sky. They owe you. Because without your fervent support and loyalty in 1986, the PNM's days might have been absolutely in a state of extinction, if not extinct. That's not waste time. And therefore, now that you have given them a lease on life, and they have repaid you with pain, agony, distress, and claiming that it's not them, and they see you as a voter bank, their bank, and that the same scenario, but in a different form, that Eric Williams said, crapo and tie. Please, young people in particular, get out there. You are 18 years of age. Get out there and register because there's a time frame in which you must have your registration before you can vote. But let's go to the lines. Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead,
Hi,
caller.
good morning, Lennox. Good morning to Mikey and the new BED technicians, everybody out here. Well, Lennox, I joined the program a little bit late. I don't know what went on because I'm busy doing things, you know. We have things to do, people to see, and all this kind of thing. Anyway, Lennox. Yeah, Lennox.
I never will accuse you of being delinquent or in any way.
You know, I am a patriot, Lennox. I'm a true patriot, Lennox. But if you know how I want to meet Rowley face to face to tell him where to plant that yam, I know a suitable spot to plant that 10,000 roots. I know a suitable spot. And I really, really wish. But you know what's shameful and disgusting? While they're breaking down people's houses in Foster Cummins constituency, Foster Cummins with Rowley planting yam. Now you tell me, Lennox, was it necessary for all of them to go and mama guide the people to plant the yam? When will the people stop falling for this stupidity? All morning, although I'm listening to you, Lennox, I have been hearing you up to when the call came through, begging the people of Laventil and them, oh, what to wise up now. Or they give somebody else a chance to do better for all, you know. Give somebody else a chance now. Look, they go, come, this year is an election year. How long now we were promised that yam? You're now bringing it to plant it for the people? And you're going to mama guide them? If you can't dazzle them with BS, you go baffle them, you dazzle them with brilliance. You understand? This is what he's doing, baffling them with BS, and they're falling for it, Lennox. Lennox, it was Mrs. Prasad Bissessa who helped in 2008, right? She won a case for the squatters and them, where they were destroying the people's home, and yet still, they voted that woman out of office. That woman they voted, she never break down nobody's homes. She never did. And all they didn't appreciate that, and that is what all they do. Oh, good God. Oh, listen, if all they don't like all yourself, we know all they don't like all yourself. Do it for all the children now. Do it for all the grandchildren now. Do it for the little ones that are coming up in the communities now. Oh, God, man, all they help all themselves, help all the children. When these people will learn, Lennox, and I don't know, Lennox, I don't want to be like Andy and say that you're beating a dead horse, because I know you want to help the people of Laventil. But you see, Lennox, they have to want to help themselves. They have to want it. They come now, they put a new candidate, a mama guy, all that. He's not going to do anything for you. He's going to be just like Heinz. And he's going to come and tell all how much you want to make, how much you want not to make. Because he will just follow instructions from them. We saw what this lady did in this country. You could touch it, you could feel it, you could see it. And now you coming to talk about planting the 10,000 roots. I tell you, I would really like to tell that man where to plant it. Thanks a lot, Lennox. Take care.
No problem, my friend. No problem, my friend. Once again, of course, my position is that if you have come to the realization that the PNM is toxic as an increasing number. In fact, the vast majority of the population has realized, and you are late on that on that track, because you have now got a direct taste of the perniciousness and the evil that is the PNM. And then, of course, you have a duty to come on board and let us, of course, get rid of this parasite, this opportunistic political parasite that is, of course, the PNM Rowley and this criminal enterprise that they have morphed into. Just have to watch Balize House and understand and ask yourself where they get their money from.
We have a next call on the line, please.
You have a next call?
Yeah.
You have a call?
Yeah, we have a call on the line there.
All right, go ahead, caller.
Hi, Lennox.
Yes.
Hello? Hello, Lennox, to Napoli again. Are you hearing me?
Very slight, but go ahead, because the world will be hearing you, even though I may not be able to, even though I'm closer than everybody else. But go ahead. I don't want that to be a rolling conversation. You just go ahead.
Yeah, we lost that caller, right?
You lost that caller?
Yeah.
All right. Earlier when we started, of course, I was telling you that all of the modules for sustainable development, this is another one. And I was just about to say when, of course, a call came in. This one is for the Beetham Gardens, of course, Organization Committee. I designed the whole project, of course, and it's a proposal for annual inter-community beauty pageant and sports program. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you about this. Beetham, let me tell you all about this. Stevens, that's the fellow who came. He's the head of this organization. And my advice that made that particular project successful, I noticed I never came to any one of the prize giving ceremony because I didn't want the politicians, Hines and others, to see, because if I am invited, obviously, Stephen and they will have to say that Lennox Smith was the one who did this, who designed the entire project for them. So I didn't want that, because they will victimize them, because they know that I am totally anti-persons who are superficial in terms of their development agenda for these kinds of communities. But now that we have come full circle, and they themselves have seen for themselves what the PNM is, I could now talk out and blow my own trumpet and pin my own lapel. That's not waste time. So this particular project, let me tell you what transpired here, Beetham, just in case you don't know, those of you who are listening now. Well, you see the Prime Minister trophy, the challenge trophy, that was my idea. And I wrote the letter, of course, they signed it, to Manning. So they had a visit with Manning, and I attended that particular meeting, and I attended it for one reason. I didn't want to go, but the meeting before I had with Manning and Archbishop Burke and others, he promised that he will put me, that time CPEP didn't start yet, it was about to be launched, he will put me or make me a director on CPEP, in CPEP, because of my work in Laventon. He recognized, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why he recognized. Because when he was first in office when he came into office in 91, they did everything to kill, and it was part and parcel why I pulled out of being active in MLIO, because they did everything, took away the money that we were getting under Robinson, etc. But when, in 95, he lost the elections, I invited him up to Laventon. Manning, he came driving in his own vehicle. I could remember that a white Mazda. I think it was one of them 323 or one of them. Yeah, one of them 323. Came up and he parked up, of course, at Juma's Drive. That time we were in Juma's Drive in Mova. But I set like a map up for him. So when he confirmed that he was coming, he drove up himself, and I've invited him inside. And then, of course, I cried many downstairs. But we had a whole set of bread and grocery items to give away. And that time, of course, I told at the same time, I know what time he was coming. So I asked those beneficiaries to come. And I brought him downstairs, and I started to deliver bread and groceries to the people in front of him. And I know that would have, of course, struck his conscience, because he knew that he did an injustice to the people of Laventille by trying, of course, to kill the MLIO training program. That by 2020, thereabout, not 2020, sorry. Yeah, by 2000, I say I'm done with that. And of course, so when we went subsequently to his office, he promised to put me as a director
We have a caller on the line, please, Mr. Lennox.
CPEP. Yeah? You have a caller?
On the line, yeah.
All right, go ahead, caller. Go ahead. Many more stories to tell. But go ahead.
Apparently, we lost it. We lost that call, Mr. Lennox.
Lost that one too? All right, no problem. Maybe it's divine intervention, probably. But call people, call. Let me just give you the numbers to call. 225-6644, 225-6644, 239-5120, 239-5120. And of course, the WhatsApp, so you could, if you miss, of course, the call itself, you can now, of course, in the convenience of your, in the convenience of your convenience, so you can, of course, drop a note for us at WhatsApp only, of course, 366-3053. 366-3053. We have a call?
We have some voice notes to play.
All right, we have a voice note. But let me just conclude that matter with Manning. And of course, as a consequence of that engagement, prick his conscience, show him, well, look, that is what you do. That is sustainable development. The people must now take charge of their community. And as a consequence, you will now have a sustainable, because they are part and parcel. They are part and parcel of the community. And if you have people with the ability and the commitment and the dedication and the time to deliver, because I could easily get a job anywhere, abroad, etc., wherever I go, whether it's Barbados, whether, of course, is St. Vincent, whether it's Grenada, I'm offered jobs. But I didn't want that. I know that there is something in Laventille that once we address the situation there, ameliorate the socio-economic and psycho-cultural problems there, we will solve the entire crime problem in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is why, of course, I remain committed. So all of these programs, part and parcel of that. But let's go to the lines. Of course, that is different to, of course, waiting for a voicemail. Go ahead, voice. Go ahead, caller.
Yes. Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. What I would like to say is that the government giving out thousands of acres of land, thousands and thousands to the Syrians and these poor people who vote for them. They breaking down the houses. How is that possible?
That cannot be equal. It cannot be. It is dangerous. It is devastating. It is inequitable. It is unjust, unfair, and they must pay the price at the polls on the next occasion. Pay the price for that level of betrayal. You still there?
No, you went.
You have another one?
No, we have some voice note when you're ready.
All right, let me just finish finish the Manning matter. Yes, and then, of course, that is why, of course, I was able, of course, he said that because of my work in Laventille, so you acknowledge that, and then, of course, he said he would make me a director of CPEP. So I got an opportunity to go back to see him after making that promise in a delegation with Archbishop Barbara Greyberg on Baptist matter. And, of course, having gone with this delegation here, the Beetham Gardens Organizing Committee, Stephen is the man who is in charge there. He's there all now. I was able to get an opportunity to say, well, boss, you tell me to bring my resume and so on. I sent it to you. And you know what he turned tell me? He says, Smith, I put a name to a committee and they want to kill me. And I ain't ready to dead yet. That was Manning tell me. And of course, it may sound jokey now, but it's a serious thing because my position is use Prime Minister and you put my name to a committee and them use a joker, and I just left there, and everything else now is history. But so go ahead and play the voicemails, and after that, you will play, of course, our suspicion, and I say it's hard evidence in the clip that I gave you earlier with respect to the intention to thief the next elections by Rowley, and we are going to expose, reveal, and take action to make sure that they do not win the next election by subterfuge. Go ahead.
Good morning to you, Teacher Lennox. I have a nice little humor for you this morning. Lennox, do you know that we partner Mickie K, right? Is planning a big bash for Valentine's Day. He is on the lookout to rent a boat or a yacht to go down the islands on a romantic night, Valentine's night. And Lennox, who you think the two ladies that he'll be celebrating? One is his favorite lady, Donna Cox, and Shamfa Kojo. He'll be taking them down the islands on the romantic night of February 14th on a Valentine's Day night cruise with champagne and brandy and so on. So, Lennox, see if you could get on the boat. Okay? Good.
Looking at these persons here, in this area where their houses were demolished by the government. And I'm thinking to myself, if any of these persons were CPAP workers, who recently would have been campaigning with any of the MPs. I'm thinking about that elaborate video with those persons jumping up behind Randall Mitchell. I'm sure a lot of them were CPAP workers. I'm thinking if any of the persons who were jumping up behind Randall Mitchell would have known any of the persons in this video here right now. And I'm thinking to myself, how does that make them feel? That a few days ago, they were jumping up behind a minister, or a few days ago, they were walking behind a minister. Regardless to what everybody else is saying about the government, they, by choice, or they may not have a choice, because some persons are actually forced to walk behind their MP, otherwise they can't go to their jobs the next day. But I'm thinking to myself, how does that make them feel? Now that they are victims of the circumstance that they may have been saying on the day when they were walking behind that minister, or jumping behind that minister, But I'm a family see about, I am here to see about, I do my thing. I'm thinking to myself now, if when they were in this particular situation, if the light of the brunt of the wickedness of this government, and if you don't stand up, that one day they can come behind you. Is it that that is the only time we will realize the significance of speaking out, the significance of condoning the wrongdoings of this government, or politicians in general? Because that is why the politicians of today have gotten so comfortable that they simply do not care about the people who vote for them. They enter government penniless, the majority of them, and within a short space of time, within a space of time, they become mega rich. And their whole mindset changes. You have contractors, the same thing, who will end up, start off with, a barrow and a truck, and they become multi-millionaires. The only person who doesn't seem to benefit, who's not benefiting, is the citizens. And the reason for that is because of the same reason. When it's convenient to us, we jump behind the minister. But only when the stark reality of these situations hit us, do we realize the bigger picture. Other than that, we don't care. We don't care to take part. We don't care to comment. We don't care to be involved. We don't care to seem like we're interested. We don't care to seem like it's bothering us. But that doesn't mean to say it's not coming in. As compelling as it is, as graphic as it is, if they can do it to those people, they can certainly do it to you. The objective, though, or the mindset you should have is if you're willing, or if you're able, to sit by, do nothing, and let them come for you too. Because trust me, they will come. Because I'm sure some of these people in this video here were jumping behind some ministers at some point in time. If you whatever, stop them and ask them to make a comment, I mean comment, no, I afraid of victimization. Okay, you're afraid of victimization. So what do you think about victimization now?
Good morning, Lennox. Good morning to Andy. Andy, get well soon. Good morning to Mighty K, wherever he is. Andy K, Lennox, this man from Shepherd Court, we always had the facts and the facts and the facts. I wonder if you remember the facts of the commissioner with the pouch, the cocaine in the pouch. I wonder if you remember that. He remember that on the morning when they find the drugs, the cocaine in the ambassador pouch. Tell him to go back and research and remember it and come and give you an explanation on who was the person was involved in that. Yes, Lennox, the diplomatic pouch. Up to this day, we never get an answer on that situation. Yeah, so tell Mr. wherever he named, Port of Spain, Samoa, Arima, wherever he come from, but I know he from Shepherd Court. Tell him to go do the research and come back and let us know who was the person who was responsible for that diplomatic pouch.
Lennox, Andy, morning again. Lennox, the point I was making earlier, my brother is a licensed contractor and also a senior estimate. He estimates jobs, the city for contractors, for other big businesses. And he estimates jobs for the millions of dollars of it. And he gives out the job also, like subcontracted jobs to other people. And if someone undervalues the job, they do not get it. Because he know at the end of the job, you can make money or lose money. And if you know you're going to lose money, he tells you don't get the job. So he know how to estimate. He's really good. That's my brother, man. The man is the best. And he also a licensed contractor and architect. So when Paul Spring in Ghana talks about people and the estimate and the contract, and brother, you have to make money when you do contract, but you don't go over. You run the project that you're going to run and beg for money, like when the PNN do give away money and steal the money. And Paul Spring, you gotta have. I wish I could see you or meet you one day, Mr. Paul Spring. I'll harness you like a donkey. I'll put a harness over you like a jackass. I'll put the harness you on. I'll put hands on top of you to ride you all over for us. Because hands like to ride horse with a young boy that, the young boy sitting in your lap. So what I'll do, I'll put you to sit in Heinz's lap and they ride your donkey all about you. You gotta have later. Lennox, Port of Spain. You gotta have Port of Spain. Look how easy it is to fool the PNM supporters and give them a piece of yam. Port of Spain, a piece of yam they give you and you satisfied with a piece of yam. Not even a piece of yam you give you the sea until you go pat it yourself. And you know that's not going to go, that's going to die. So you get a dying piece of yam, a poison piece of yam going to kill you. For the space, you gotta, you are a gotta. PNM supporters, come on, be smart. You guys are wise. Don't listen to Paul Spain. That man is a gotta. Hey, you donkey, gotta. I'm calling you a donkey. Heinz will ride you wanna put the harness on you. Heinz will ride you like a horse. Don't worry. Come on, PNM people. Oh God, my friend. We need to get all the seats to get rid of them. And don't worry, Port of Spain, you gotta have. I will get other people to ride you too, not just Heinz. I put Rory, you could ride you down with the red couch. You donkey, you gotta have. You imagine you guys are being fooled with a yam seed. Tell him I'll give you money to give $550 million and share that thing, you're a yam seed. Oh my God. Be real, brother. Be real. Later.
Yeah, that's the end of the voice note.
Let me just share some of the documents here that I have, and then we will play, of course, what our suspicion is based on the antecedent or the history of Dr. Rowley. Total, of course, anti-democratic individual, totalitarian in a democracy. He is attempting, of course, to develop, to evolve, and we, the population, must resist. Of course, this is another document that was prepared over many years. Of course, and it identified in picture form where the gangs are or was operating in the Laventille context. Of course, this is mainly for Laventille. And why we say Laventille, there are two fundamental reasons. Well, three. One is that, of course, anywhere you go in Trinidad, Laventille is the place not to go because of the what? Because of the bad name, yeah, that the place has nationally, of course, regionally as well. The second thing is, it is a reality that, of course, there is multiple and manifold and numerous social issues in that place that are, of course, violent, lack of employment, people simply are poor infrastructure deteriorating, even though they have some, would have had at one time one of the best because they are just off Port of Spain, the eastern side of Port of Spain. Yeah, as a sub-community of Port of Spain, etc., etc. So things are bad. We had to accept that. So we had to do some evaluation and some research and some data collecting in order to treat to that. And of course, just a few here. We have, of course, 1 year Malik. We have block 22. For example, we have, of course, Cipriani Avenue. We have, of Kelly Village. We have St. Babs. We have, of course, Parsley Street. We have, of course, Chumakak. We have Beetham. We have, of course, Beverly Hills. We have, again here, we have Paradise Heights. We have Bath Street and environs, Observatory Street, and so on. All of that. We did all of that. And we came up with a number when we did it. If you turn the page, you would see, of course, we're looking at, of course, housing, relocation, fares in Laventille, in the Laventille constituencies. And of course, you see a big graph, you see a graph here, a pie chart that, of course, talks about what? There's one that says 7% improvement to their economic circumstance. That is why they will be they have relocation fees. Of course, another 1% adjustment to a new environment. So they're afraid to get out of there because of that. 9% a suspicion of government motives. 9%, and of course a huge 83% gang wars, violence, and killings that will cause a person to decide whether or not they should stay in Laventille or move out. We did all of that. All of that. Look, pie chart, again, a flat one in this case. And this one is about a social impact survey on Laventille and environs, of course. And it talks about, of course, the property owners who prefer to sell and leave. We did all of that. Property owners who prefer to sell and leave the place. And of course, 7% to say no. And of course, 93% said yes, they prefer to sell and go. And then, of course, you have reasons for wanting to sell property. Well, of course, there are several reasons. Crime, 65%. The social vertical mobility, meaning that you want a better place, you want to have a better life, a better environment. Well, of course, that one is 24%. And of course, 11% want a poor infrastructure and amenities. That's why they want to leave. We did all of that. The government so damn stupid. They don't know. They are asses. Excuse the expression. But assy, I think, is an appropriate word because I know we are in Gael. But of course, I refer them, they are beasts. They are beasts of burdens, of burden, right? To use a euphemism. But you know, you get so emotional and so upset, knowing full well that there are solutions by the community, for the community, of the community. But thank God, there's a Kamala Prasad Bisasa and the UNC. Already, of course, and I have the report with respect, of course, to the ad hoc committee for the eradication of crime in Laventille that will be sent to Kamala Prasad Bisasa and the UNC. And of course, the chairman of that committee is Archbishop Barbara Grayberg. You don't want no better expert than that to talk on these matters. You don't want it. And so, you know, so I thought it was important, of course, to share that with you from time to time, now that I have the opportunity. What's the other significant survey that we did? Yeah, we did the research, our own money, my money. Community parlors, this is an interesting one. Community parlors and shops. Analysis. Community parlors and shops. And listen to this. Parlors operating, and that was in 2003. And the parlors, of course, closed by October 2005. And in 2003, you had about 100 and let's say 20. And by, of course, 2 years later, you had, of course, only 80 parlors operating in the geographic space called that we surveyed. 80. This is a microcosm of what is happening there. Because you know why? Delivery trucks can't go up there. The people who remain and had their little parlors and so on to service the population, whether they want a soft drink, a pound of sugar, etc., they have to come into Port of Spain, pay a vehicle to go up. So you understand that the cost to the residents will be more because they pay more than if a truck with soft drink go up there and they buy it straight from the truck or the manufacturer who would have had these distribution systems in place to deliver to these parlors, who would, of course, be the last leg to the consumer, the residents. We did all of that. We did all of that. Massive research. Massive research. You see, and you would understand why when a man tell me that Nelson Street is the best place for desperados. And questioning my Laventilness. I just laugh because that's clearly you have to be a nincompoop, a dunderhead, or somebody who is so damn malicious, including of course jealous because they cannot do it and they know no one is prepared to do it. But a person like me who is fiercely independent and could take the place of Rowley, take the place of Heinz, and every one of them, all of them together, I could take the place of all of them. They can't debate me. None of them. I can't invite Heinz to debate. Never want to debate. Because he cannot produce this. He doesn't have the knowledge about this. Yeah. Let me just give you a couple more. The most recent one, of course, is right here in this facility here. We call it the MLS Empowerment Resource Center. And this is a combination, or should I say a collaboration or a cooperation of at least 3 organizations. The Mobile Laventil Improvement Organization, Laventil for Laventilians, and the Shouter Baptist Learning Institute. 3 institutions coming together. We have been evolving and going to different stage. No longer must we, of course, be so fragmented and divided that none of us could deliver anything significant. So we realized now that we have to pool our resources in order to impact effectively and sustainably on the community. So we're talking about computer literacy. We're talking about counseling. We're talking about setting up an employment agency so that we could direct young people and whosoever it is to where the jobs are available once we could qualify them or we direct them to where they can be qualified. They tell them about. They don't know. This one, rather long document again, Laventil for Laventilian Transformation Program. Micro development program for Laventil's transformation. All of these things, all inside of here. Look at graph. Look at this graph here is about, of course, basic needs issues. And every column represents the needs of the area, whether it's employment, whether it's training, whether it's and at different levels, education, etc., so as to generate the sustainable package, the sustainable mechanism to transform that place. And if we had the opportunity, but because Rowley and them wanted to believe that somehow by some epiphany, suddenly them could make the intervention and take the credit, they are living in a fool's paradise. They cannot adjust that. And the police is not the institution to drive this kind of development. Drive it. Yeah. Employment, education and training, etc. Of course, recreation.
Excuse me.
So on and so forth. We have a caller?
Invite some people on the line to call and have a few voice note.
Oh yes, just all right. Let me just get there. Thank you for, of course, attracting my attention because I'm so enthused about the Kamala Prasad business coming into office so that we get a chance to transform that place and, of course, Trinidad and Tobago in general.
You know, Ground Report is a monologue.
Yeah?
You know, Ground Report is not a monologue.
Yes, of course. 225-6644, 225-6644, 239-5120, 239-5120, and of course, WhatsApp 366-3053, 366-3053. All right, go to the other
voice notes,
and then of course you'll play the clip immediately after. All right.
Okay.
Good morning, Andy, Lennox, Mickie, and everybody out there. Lennox, he gave them some yam. He gave them 4 male weed plant. and he take away the laptops and break down the houses. Great is the PNM. Take that. Thanks a lot.
Miss Lady, let me answer you. I say I was not going and sending no voicemail. But Micah Smith is presently serving a jail time for that coke in the diplomatic pouch. Right? So that answer your question. So you read and you get your facts.
Paula, before I talk about Mikey and the woman, talk about what woman you taking as a clown. But you're the biggest clown here for the job of Mikey with woman. What woman you taking? Which man you taking? Later.
Okay, you could go ahead now there.
Yes, we're quite apart from it, but we'll go to the clip. Let us show that we will not relent and we will be raising red flags all over the globe about, of course, the dictatorship that Rowley intends, of course, to impose on the people of Trinidad and Tobago, unsuspecting, and those, of course, who are sycophants and so on and believe in that decrepit, yes, and of course, obsolete institution that has morphed into a criminal enterprise called the PNM. You just have to look at Balizé House and understand the level of theft, the level of kleptocratic propensity that they have. Go to the clip now, and you'll see that we are on them as far as thieving the next elections is concerned.
The Ground Report with Mikey K, Andy Williams, and Lennox Smith.
I am waiting. I have already given the instruction. The draft is prepared. Any minute what can come in front of me. I have already indicated to the Secretary of CARICOM that the government of Trinidad and Tobago is asking CARICOM to send a delegation whenever the election takes place in Trinidad and Tobago. We expect a CARICOM delegation.
With elections constitutionally due in 2025, opposition leader Kamala Bissau has repeatedly asked for international observers. However, Dr. Rowley maintains the observer team will be from within CARICOM.
So we are going to have CARICOM. We are going to have CARICOM. I did receive from the member for some of our underlings a list of all kind of talk and canary from OYO and Timbuktu. I'm not inviting them here.
When the United National Congress wins, everybody wins. When the UNC wins, everybody wins. When the UNC wins, everybody wins. They don't care about you. They care about themselves. It is time we get them out of office. My brothers and sisters, you have to mobilize this country. We cannot take another 5 years of this government. But today, my brothers and sisters, we have to mobilize. We have to mobilize. And I am calling on you people to be vigilant in the next election. Because what I am about to tell you is a very important matter that came to my attention this week. The political leader of the UNC has called for election observers, both international and regional observers. You all remember that? And Rowley said he had the letter by his desk. Apparently he signed the letter and he sent it to CARICOM. So CARICOM now will be the body who will send the election observers to Trinidad to ensure that elections are being conducted in a fair manner. It has been brought to my attention, and I cast no aspersion on any person. Do you know who is the Assistant Secretary General of the CARICOM? None other than the wife of the Attorney General, Reginald Amo Senior Counsel. So CARICOM, and I cast no aspersions on CARICOM, I cast no aspersions on the goodly Mrs. Solomon or the Attorney General. But there must be an appearance of fairness. There must never be an appearance of bias in these matters. So if Mrs. Solomon, the wife of the Attorney General, sits in the CARICOM Secretariat as the Assistant Secretary General, how do you expect us to feel about the observers that come here? And I cast no aspersions on the fairness of the observers. But that is a matter I believe should be raised in the national interest. That is a very important matter.
47th Heads of Government is going to be a particularly important meeting. And it's a meeting in which I think we are going to demonstrate how effective we have been in the last 2 years, but particularly in the last year. You mentioned Haiti. The role that CARICOM has played, and the CARICOM heads of government have played in bringing Haiti to the point that it is now, is not to be underestimated at all. The heads of government made a commitment a year ago to support Haiti through a very difficult period, and a lot has happened since the last heads of government. And where we are now, where we have a Haitian-led, Haitian-owned process with the transitional presidential council in place, transitional prime minister in place, is entirely due to the work that was done by Caribbean heads of government. And that is quite extraordinary.
So my brothers and sisters, if we vote resoundingly, and we come out in our numbers, they can try how hard they cannot thief this election from us, because the will of the people is the will of God. And when people speak, that is the voice of God. So I ask you all, in San Fernando West, in Aram West St. Joseph, in Barataria Sava, Toko Sangre Grande, La Hocata Talparo, Muruga Tabalan, all of the marginal seats together with all of the other constituencies of Trinidad and Tobago. Rise up Trinidad and Tobago. Let us get rid of this Christopher Rowley administration. Get rid of Stuart Young. Get rid of Forrest Arawi. And let us install Kamala Persad-Bissessar as our next Prime Minister, together with the UNC government. I thank you very much, Pfizer, for your...
So we are going to have CARICOM. We are going to have CARICOM. I did receive from the member for some of our underlings a list of all kind of talk and canary from Oyo and Timbuktu. I'm not inviting them here. I'm not inviting them here. I'm not inviting them here. So we are going to have CARICOM. We are going to have CARICOM. I did receive from the member for some of our underlings a list of all kind of talk and canary from Oyo and Timbuktu. I'm not inviting them here.
Be vigilant in the next election. The political leader of the UNC has called for election observers, both international and regional observers. You all remember that? And Rowley said he had the letter by desk. Apparently signed the letter and he sent it to CARICOM. So CARICOM now will be the body who will send election observers to Trinidad to ensure that elections will be conducted in a fair manner. Do you know who is the Assistant Secretary General of the CARICOM? None other than the wife of the Attorney General, Reginald Amo Senior Counsel. So CARICOM, and I cast no aspersions on CARICOM, I cast no aspersions on the goodly Mrs. Solomon or the Attorney General. But there must be an appearance of fairness. There must never be an appearance of bias in these matters. So if Mrs. Solomon, the wife of the Attorney General, sits in the CARICOM Secretariat as the Assistant Secretary General, how do you expect us to feel about the observers that come here? And I cast no aspersions on the fairness of the observers. But that is a matter I believe should be raised in the national interest. That is a very important matter.
So we are going to have CARICOM. We are going to have CARICOM. I did receive from the member for some of our underlings a list of all kind of talk and canary from Oyo and Timbuktu. I'm not inviting them here. I'm not inviting them here.
Yes, indeed. Once Rowley just displays that bravado, that bluster, pretending, of course, it is unimportant from Timbuktu and from Oyo. Notice that is how he does it, to try to gaslight that is not important. You're talking about, of course, a list that includes the OAS, the Organization of American States. You're talking about a list that includes, of course, the Carter Foundation. You're talking about a list that includes that element of the United Nations. And he's saying, oh, he, and Timbuktu, so we know that his intention is clear. And then, of course, he comes up, he has the audacity at the same time in the parliament of the country, as he normally would abuse in that way and mislead the population by telling us that he is not going to invite any one of them. We know that what the intention is, and that therefore we must now not just be circumspect, we must confirm by that conduct, because we have seen it before. The same thing he did, of course, with Mr. Narciscope, who is still there. And then, therefore, if you have that combination, and of course, the opposition is right that it must not only be conducted fairly, but it must appear to be fair. And how the hell a man who, of course, lied to in a foreign jurisdiction and was banned, you make him your attorney general, and his wife is the what? Is the assistant secretary general of CARICOM, and we must not be concerned as citizens, not just as the opposition. They have their axe to grind, so to speak, but we as a people who don't want them, who don't want the PNM, who see the PNM as, of course, the existential threat to Trinidad and Tobago's democracy, and is prepared, of course, to undermine the electoral process as soon as they get into office in 2015. We have seen too much of that to be sitting ducks for that level of travesty. Travesty that is, of course, Rowley and the PNM at this point in time. Yes, indeed. Of course, it is now 9:30 people. But I thought it was important, of course, for us to understand that it is well entrained, the efforts to steal the next elections, and everybody must come out and vote. So if it's 10 persons, as I say, in a constituency, and 11 votes account in that constituency, we know what the plan is. But we must also make the effort to, of course, get on our own volition and our own advocacy those other institutions that are prepared to spend their own money to come here, including the
Call on the line, please.
let's go on the line.
Good morning.
Welcome. Go ahead.
Yes, I called to talk about the yam. The yam that Rowley said he get, I can't remember from where, how much seeds of yam. Okay, I was from the country. Listen, Granny, I had a piece of food. I tell you about yam. We have the best yam in Trinidad. They call it purple heart yam. The whole part of the yam white, and in the middle is purple. That is first class yam in our country. We have a yam, they call it butterfly yam. Some people will call it ginger yam. That is first class yam in our country. We have the yellow yam, Yamatuta. That is first class yam in our country. The yam that we have plenty other yam. We have the purple yam. It is like couscous, right? We have that yam seed. What Rowley planted. I want Trinidad people to know. They call that yam cut and throw away. They call that yam cut and throw away in the country. If you cut a piece of that and you throw it go, that will have plenty seed in it. So that is cut and throw yam. Rowley get that seed. It's a kind of white yam, but it's not no first class yam. It have a yam they call sweet man yam. That yam they just call it table yam in the village. This cut and throw yam is like that. That is not first class yam. That is the yam Rowley giving the people to eat down here. Like when he say he planted cassava in Guyana, and he tell the people eat cassava, yeah, tighten up belt and hard time only. Doesn't have that. This PNM government have nothing to offer to nobody. Flying motor car, flying airplane like motor car goes so much country in this world and do nothing good to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. All where he goes, bring nothing good to the country of Trinidad and Tobago. And he bring cut and throw yam. Because it's cut and throw. If you throw the string, it does go. Thank you very much, Lennox.
You could go ahead, Lennox.
Yes, indeed. Of course, the name of Amos or Limor, it doesn't matter whether it's Limor or Amos, same damn thing. Wife is Elizabeth, of course, Solomon. She a very powerful position, Assistant Secretary General of CARICOM, and therefore we must. And I want you to understand the nature of the beast that we are dealing with, called Rowley, who is prepared, of course, not to do anything above board, not to do anything transparent, not to do anything with a high degree of accountability. I want to show you how complex his mind is. Quite apart, of course, from the mind-boggling way how he introduced those emails to make it look as though at the time to convince I and all, if I wasn't at least skeptical, would have got caught with the shenanigans that he displayed there and the histrionics and the theatrics that he displayed. But I want to show you something here. Many of you may not have observed, so let me bring it to your attention as well. That so-called honorary doctorate that he got from that university in the United States. What do you think that was all about? A fella who, of course, he Rowley recommended to get the highest national award, the Trinity Cross. And of course, when he had difficulty and his name and Trinidad and Tobago was not being, of course, observed. That was part and parcel of a scheme, showing you how complex this man's mind is, to, of course, get access to various committees under the Biden administration. They knew that Biden would have been there receiving a similar award. So they set it up in such a way, generate the lies about Trinidad, giving Rowley all kinds of accolades for developing Trinidad and Tobago. We know, of course, we have been, since he came into office, in retrogression, in a backward mood. But all of that was, and of course, wanted to get Biden to be familiar with Rowley, and he did, because it's obvious the two of them alone getting a doctorate. They are going to talk to each other. And Biden did say that, listen, I thought you was an ordinary Latin American guy. Notice that. But of course, that gave Rowley access now to all those committees that you saw there, because Biden is president. That is how Rowley is. He's that complex. He will utilize every single opportunity and institution that have reputation, sully it, damage it, and get it into disrepute. As we saw, of course, he did with even the presidency of Paula May Weeks. That's the kind of man we are dealing with. He will stop at nothing to have his way, and he will insult and, of course, poison every institution in order to get his way. I'm still on the read. 10 o'clock. Okay. Yes. Sorry about that. That is the nature of the beast. So we know that we're not dealing with an ordinary fella. We're dealing with a fella with a very complex mind, and will utilize, of course, his doctorate and his association in order, of course, to deliver evil, criminal behavior, misbehavior in public office, and want to stay there. So I want to tell you young people in particular, I want to tell Laventilians, I want to tell, of course, the East-West Corridor, I want to tell La Brea, I want to tell, of course, Point 14. We are dealing with a very wily, but he cannot, one thing he cannot manipulate is your finger, your index finger to vote. You saw it, of course, with Tobago. You remember, he's a Tobagonian, and they reject him. He's a Tobagonian, and they reject him. Laventil. Rowley's a Tobagonian, and Tobago reject him because they understand the demand, just as how I have been able to understand, study him, and of course, tell you because of my own training. So I'm able, of course, to assess people like these. And I can tell you, the man is a criminal extraordinaire. Criminal extraordinaire. And he will, of course, dismiss and, of course, throw you under the bus in a wink if he believes that it will advance his agenda. And notice, on the converse, if he believes that you are an asset to him, he will defend evil, he will defend wrongdoing to the hilt as well. Of course, I don't have to tell you about Al-Rari and his children. I don't have to tell you that. I don't have to tell you about, of course, the cardinal sin that Al-Rari again committed in terms of course, the Vincent Nelson matter. And what you do? You move him out of the ministry of the Attorney General and put him, of course, in local government. Understand what is happening here. He will defend that. Look at Darrell Smith. Darrell Smith is somewhere in the United States. Now, understand, the man has a warped sense of reasoning, a warped sense of right and wrong, and of course, he has no sense of high moral and ethical standard. And you have to look, of course, for evidence of that, how he calls through misogynic statements, hater of women statements. And he called women a what? A golf course. When he called little girls hyenas in a jungle, African jungle. When he calls, of course, tell women who have called upon him as prime minister to do what? To save us. He then says that I ain't your man. I can't tell you what man to take and not in the bedroom. That is the kind of beast we're dealing with. And let me show you something, how deliberate he is. The same people in Maloney, the woman who he said, and not in the bedroom, I can't tell you what man to take. When his ability to choose the right people comes into question, when he hold a meeting in the town hall in Port of Spain here about Marlene McDonald and to shift, of course, blame from him for selecting her, even though he was aware that she was bad news by, of course, people like Lee Singh and so on, former mayor of Port of Spain. He goes there and he asks a question. Many of you go and look it up. He asks the divorcees inside of there. He asks them, he said, listen, I'm talking to them divorcees. If you know that the man or woman would have turned out to be how they turned out, would you have married to them in the first place? And the answer, of course, is a rhetorical question. The answer is no. But when he goes up there to Maloney and the same issue is put, them men and them beating us up, he tell them instead, I ain't tell you what man to take. And of course, I'm not in the bedroom. Victim bashing, licks for you. But when his choice of minister is concerned, he asks the question, all you divorcees, if you know the woman or the man would have turned out how they turn out, would you have married them in the first place? So in other words then, he's saying that he didn't know. But those in Maloney, those women, they should have known. That is the kind of beast we're dealing with. Understand, the man has no sense of morality. He has no sense of right and wrong. And it's all about power, raw, unadulterated power. And he's extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous for Trinidad and Tobago from day one. Because, of course, Manning would have gotten the first salvo, but we didn't know at the time. You cannot now say that you don't know. And you cannot now say in many ways. One, that we have seen how he has operated. Two, you were told by programs, through programs like these, social media, etc. And that, of course, some of the close, what I consider to be, but close in terms of PNM oriented and PNM involvement, such as Ralph Maraj, and such, of course, as Selwyn Kojo, such as, of course, Mariano Brown, all of them know the man. And why they took longer than us to recognize him, but the fact is that they do. And you have the belly to make him stay in the background now, behind Stuart Young, his clone, for evil I'm talking about here, not in looks and texture of hair and ethnicity and genealogy. And study. All of us have a duty to save Trinidad and Tobago today. All of us. And he could jump high, he could jump low. He must call the election, just as how he had to call it for local government, as the Privy Council said, and the same why he had to call it for the THA, and the same why he has to call it for national. And who cares? Blue lights and silver bracelets engulf them. Who cares? And let me tell you, I'm sure he can't come and say no. He go bring down Laventille for anything. If he had to bring down Laventille, probably is on himself. It's on himself. We have a call. The people, of course, is now quarter. We have a call? Go ahead.
Oh, we don't have any call on the line.
You don't have a call. Yes, indeed. Let me just give you the numbers to call. I know people, of course, are very enthused as to the information that is being disclosed. I know that some people are just fascinated, but make your calls still now. 225-6644, 225-6644, 239-5120, 239-5120, 366-3053, 366-3053, WhatsApp only, and give us and leave a note. Yes, I know some of you are surprised as to the wealth of information, the wealth of knowledge, the wealth of work that was done. And let me tell you something, the one with respect, of course, to the BFAM, that was done, part of it was done in the home of the fella that is selected to replace Angelo. Yes, it beat him. Yes, went home by his mother. He was there, etc. He didn't know what I was there for because they're pretty younger fella at the time, and he wasn't a lawyer as yet. And so he knows. And I'm sorry for him because, of course, I'm sure that he would know that it will be very difficult to go into, as a young fella, to go into just across the road, Eastern Quarry and the other parts of Laventille, because of the gang warfare. And if you are a young fella, they got it for you. And if them fellas have enemies and they beat them, the likelihood, because they will have to make special security arrangements for them.
Please.
We have a call? Go ahead, caller. Oh, go ahead, caller. Yes, that is Darren Marcel. Yeah? You lost him?
I say, yeah, we lost him. We got voice note.
All right, well, go ahead with the voice note then. Let's take as much as we can, and then we will play that clip again nearing the end, so that people understand the challenge we have.
Lennox, I want to compliment you and praise you. What a fantastic assessment of this man, Rowley. The way how he works his way to come and get a doctorate in America, Howard University, which I text and I email Howard University and tell them this man is a scam, a thief, and a mafia, and you guys give this man a rate. How to get close to Biden to lick his Babsy. I really compliment you on the way you assess it. Boy, you are intelligent. For Spain, listen and learn something good about an intelligent human being of Lennox. For Spain, you gotta listen to a good speaker, an intelligent man, than running your mouth and talking a set of rubbish. Lennox, that is the exact thing he did. He get into and that's why I'm disappointed. I'm a Democrat, but I'm disappointed about Kamala Harris. I already said that the woman should have cut ties with Biden when she won for election. Have nothing to do with him and tell him that I am my own woman. But she stick up to his ass and lose the election. But anyhow, that's another time.
Yeah, of course. You have 4 years. 4 years.
A mafia guy.
What about politics?
Oh my God, they really just think out of the box, you know. They really think ahead of what they're going to do, what mafia they're going to scheme, I mean, they're going to commit, what scheme they're going to commit, what they're going to teach the really good boy. Rowdy's a real mafia, give the woman a child, and nobody has seen nobody, the man real good. I'm sure when he pregnant, the woman get the baby, but she will kill you and all kind of thing. That's how they operate. Wow, Lennox, intelligent assessment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I know that some of the information people are just wild about, and therefore might be reluctant to call unless they interrupt and miss additional information. But I assure you, you will miss nothing because we have other
I'm thinking now and how Rowdy thinking, as you can see on the Parliament channel and on what is he saying. is that he's not bringing in the international observers. So let me think out the box a little bit. It is just a suggestion, and I stand corrected. So, but I believe that we should decide to go on the web, where we could do a formal letter and just have people have signatures on them and just deliver it to the different organization. And that's also to help Kamala also from also writing to them, but still they'd have extra eyes, extra hand, in getting these things forward. So let me think about it and let me go forward. And we can still go ahead and protest as usual, but in this government you can't do that. They wouldn't allow it to happen. You can't get no permission to protest and things based on those things. So I know that will be a failure right there. So, but yeah, let we get on the web and let we get all these signatures going to the different organizations, including Kamala, the opposition, and let we see how far we can get them to come in. All right, blessings everyone.
You have a caller on the line.
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Good morning, sir.
Go ahead, caller.
How are you? I'm calling to warn Mr. Benjamin that what Rowley, in fact, I shouldn't say doctor. I'm calling from Tobago. Yes, what he did to Griffith, because Griffith wouldn't carry out his nasty work. He did it to Erla, because she wouldn't do what he's told her to do. And he will do it to Benjamin again, because he wouldn't stop there. And I want to find out how the women in Parliament feel when he talks about women like that. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment and for your involvement. You have another call?
No, you could go ahead now.
Yes, indeed. So I trust that the information that would have been disclosed this morning would contribute to that cadre, that accumulation of knowledge about what we are dealing with. They have no intention of delivering to the people. It is clear from the acceptance of the salary review commissions or committees recommendation that they are about exploiting. And let me tell you this, do not put it beyond them that when they accept that, what I consider a windfall, $1 million back pay, so etc., etc. And when you see them buying land and you see them buying car and house and so on, when they would have been kicked out by you and I, the electorate through the next elections, they would want to commingle those resources and say that they got it from as a result of the increase in the salaries. Don't put it beyond Rowley, and that is why, of course, Leons had to pay the price when he said upfront, because he couldn't believe it, that the government will take that money in especially at a time when, of course, it is difficult to see that they will take that, having regarded to the pain, the ache, the agony, the sufferings, the unemployment, the lack of investment, and of course the deterioration of all of the infrastructure, including of course the utilities and so on, and the increasing pressure on single salaried families by introducing of course higher water rates, higher electricity bill, and of course property tax, and we still take that money. But I'm telling you, do not be surprised that when they start to spend as if money going out of sight, when they would have been kicked out of office, they would want to use that as a defense, that they just got some money from the increases, and that is what they are using. Commingling, of course, in other words, what they would have stolen through corruption. Not at waste time. Over 500 times you recuse, and you ain't benefiting from that. I'm talking about different ministers. When the government change, we will know the true state of that level of recusal, and took out of the procurement legislation that part of it, clause 7, so that you could engage in the so-called recusal that, according to Rowley, is standard practice. You do that in any parliament that has a respect for democracy, any part of the world. And you have a revolving door of only recusals. Every single minister recusals. As their turn comes, they go outside and the rest of them decide. As if we dotish, as if we do not know that they meet and can meet, because modern technology, communication will allow it. They could be on the phone and make the arrangements. They could be in a meeting, make the arrangements. And when they go to parliament, when they go to cabinet meeting now, they just ratify what they would have already agreed on beforehand in these various situations. Nobody ain't a fool. One of my lecturers said, and I always had difficulty with it, but of course I get to know it now with Rowley and they in particular. In human circumstance, what appear to be is not always is. You know what I say? I say in human circumstance, what appears to be is not always is. So they want us to believe that for the first time they are meeting, of course, in the cabinet, and then, of course, over 100 times, Stuart Young recused himself, Rowley 12 times, Alrari 18 times, and whosoever again recused themselves based on, of course, on what? On conflict of interest potential. So Rowley say, and he encouraged that. They encouraged that. This man must be, of course, treated in a way to say and to, of course, promote that he must be tried for treason. Treason. Look what is unfolding now with respect, of course, to what? To the bunker fuel and Jamaica. All the time we didn't know. I didn't know that Jamaica had a vibrant refinery, and it was incumbent. It was the duty of Rowley when he was making the case that places all over the world closing down oil refinery. Remember, he told us that he went to Aruba and he went to some other part. He never told us about Jamaica. Never told us why Jamaica is looking to expand. Expand. He was telling us that oil refinery is closing down, making the case, the phantasmagorical story surrounding the oil refinery in Trinidad. And if, of course, he had told us that Jamaica had an oil refinery or have an oil refinery, and it only producing, according to Young now that they realize that the population will, of course, be very, very concerned that not only wasn't that oil refinery spoken of, but that they have one existing. He tried to tell us that it's 30,000 barrels. Suggesting what? Suggesting that because it's small, it was insignificant. That's what he's saying. Well, let me tell you something. The alternative, the counter argument is very simple. All you had to do was to reduce the capacity of the Pointe-à-Pierre oil refinery to around that too. In fact, make it equal, produce equal, reduce it to make it produce refined items equal to the 40-something thousand barrels that we produce every day. That's all. That's all. That's all you have to do. But at a time when you would have, of course, scuttled, get rid of your competitive advantage, you're telling me that you importing bunker fuel for both from Jamaica, and Rowley will tell us on the other hand that because of the expansion of the Panama Canal, boats will come here, having come from China, and tell us about a dry dock for La Brea and will generate employment. Where is it? Wait, where is it? Where is it, Rowley? Where is the dry dock? And of course, this buffoon, this nincompoop, who he has anointed to be, of course, to replace him, his clone in evil. Clone in evil. telling us that, of course, this is for vessels that come into Trinidad. Yes, every country that has vessels visiting them must have a fuel supply to accommodate them. Yes, they have to pay for it. But that is not what we were told. We were told that bunkering was designed to service ships coming out, including that dry dock, to come here in Trinidad, and therefore part of the diversification of the economy. But yet still, you never told us about the Jamaican oil refinery that is operating now, so that you could have reduced the capacity of the Point-a-Pierre oil refinery, maintain whatever it is, modicum of a competitive advantage. In other words, they could leave Panama and come down here and get cheaper fuel. That will be a competitive advantage because you have something that nobody else provides. But you are buying fuel from your competitor. I'm talking about Petrojam. You're buying fuel. You buy the fuel from them. They are closer to the United States than us. They are closer to Canada than us. They are closer across the Atlantic to Europe than us because they are in the north. I showed you that yesterday in a video. They're closer than us. So you want to buy fuel from them and then, of course, invite ships to come here. Invite ships to come here to sell fuel much more expensive than Jamaica. No shipping coming here. They're going straight to Jamaica because they're getting the fuel cheaper. They are closer to their destination port. So Jamaica has all the advantage. You have literally outside the interests of the people of Trinidad and Tobago giving away our competitive advantage and then tell us some hogwash about you looking to diversify by buying the fuel from them, and you had to buy it at a certain price and therefore you had to put your markup, etc., etc. Nobody coming here. You have decimated the economy. You have destroyed Trinidad and Tobago, and you're looking to stay where you are? No. Of course, people, it's now 10 o'clock, 1 minute past 10. Yes, people, sorry about that, but of course, I had to say what I had to say so that people will go away over the weekend, mull on it, think a little more, come back Monday, of course, on the ground report. But of course, tonight there is no, of course, corridor transformation, but tomorrow night, so we'll have an opportunity to still talk about it as well as Sunday night. Yes, we are there. Some say 8 days a week, even though there's 7 days in a week. But I understand why they would say that because of the frequency and the consistency of the corridor transformation from 8 o'clock in the night. So if you want more of this, then of course you have to wait until Saturday night and Sunday. And then of course Monday, of course you'll have both the ground report and of course corridor transformation at 8 o'clock in the night or in the evening. And that being as it may, of course, thank you very much, of course, for being a wonderful audience. We weren't able to get, of course, some of the information that we didn't touch during the week, of course, into today's program. But I think there's a wonderful substitute as the focus was on, of course, showing where sustainable development is possible once Rowley and the PNM gets out of office. Lavatil and these places cannot be seen as a vote bank. No, we must evolve out of that. And no longer paradigm paralysis, we must engage it. Have a wonderful rest of the day. God bless. Thank you very much, my friend.
The Ground Report with Mickie K, Andy Williams, and Lennox Smith.
Bang, 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 bang.